This is a dangerous time for you. It is you and your abilities the Emperor wants.
When a renegade hero became a friend in desperate need, and a dark villain faced his greatest challenge.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
When the Empire turned more and more to the forces of the underworld.
Bounty hunters. We don't need that scum.
The underworld moved in to crush the Empire and the Rebellion in a single stroke. After The Empire Strikes Back and before Return of the Jedi, there was a time when heroes and villains alike lived in the shadows of the Empire.
Welcome back to Nerdporeal Sci-Fi Chat. It is I, your host, the weirdo that calls himself Admiral, the shameless plugger, Brian, the Nerdporeal life form. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? So today we are going to be talking about, well, here's the thing. What do you think happened between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi? Fans have asked that question for almost a decade now. Well, let's go to 1996, and that question's about to be answered as we talk about the multimedia project known as Shadows of the Empire. So here we go. I'm going to introduce my initial guests. This one needs no introduction. He's been on my streams before. He only takes cash and not credit. Let's have a welcome to Cash Money. How are you?
What's up, dude? Yes. I actually do take credit, just not from you.
I know. It's the nature of our relationship. So, all right. So we have another guest. This is his initial debut, I believe. I've talked to him in the chat several times. Well, let's give a warm welcome to DJ Ronnie G. What's going on?
Good evening. Fun fact, I'm not actually a DJ. I was just given this name years ago and been rolling with it.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say.
I know.
I feel betrayed.
It's a big reveal.
Oh, and we have another guest too. He's a part of the FNT crew. Let's give a welcome to Mr. Ryan Kinnell. How are you?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Ryan. Hey, man.
Evening.
Hey,
How's it going?
What's going on? I can't stay super long, but when you told me you were going to talk a little bit of Shadows of the Empire, I had to stop by at least for a little bit.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Oh my gosh, Ryan's on the stream. Oh my gosh. No, I'm kidding. I've met Ryan twice, and despite his colorful, bombastic behavior, he's a good guy.
Yeah, Ryan, don't worry, man. When I see X-Wing, I'll slap him upside his head. So don't worry, buddy. I pay attention to things, man. Don't worry. I'm part of that community. So
yeah, X-Wing's got a good thing going on over there.
He does.
I haven't seen his reaction to the last two episodes of Boba Fett yet, but I would imagine they were interesting.
Yes, definitely, man.
So I'm going to talk about how I want to talk about how we got into, or how we became aware of Shadows of the Empire. So in my case, it was 96. I think I was in 5th grade at the time. I remember watching, like, I don't know if it was Power Rangers or Beast Wars or some before or after school cartoon or something. I see this commercial. And I see this toy. I see like, oh, this is Star Wars, but then I hear Shadows of the Empire. Like, what's Shadows of the Empire? And then I see, oh, this evil Lord Prince Shizor is about to get Han Solo, is capturing Han Solo, and then we see Dash Rendar and his Outrider ship, and the Outrider can rotate, the cockpit can rotate. And then we see like, well, we see Boba Fett and Slave One. This is the first time I've heard his ship being called Slave One. And that was my initial introduction to it. And then, of course, months later, I saw the book at a Walden Books. I don't know if you guys remember Walden Books. I remember looking at all the Star Wars books. I remember the New Rebellion just came out, and I saw Shadows of the Empire there as well. So I saw that. I was like, oh, I've heard this before. And then, but my real history with this is the video game, the N64 game, because at the time in late '96, I was in 6th grade. My folks could not afford an N64, so we rented the system. And because of that, the video store that we went to gives away 2 games to go with the system. I think back then it was $15 to rent the system. So my dad got Mario 64 because I'm a big Nintendo guy, and he also got me Shadows of the Empire. So I'm guessing this was like December or January of 96 or 97. So right after the game came out. So, and then after that, I mean, I wasn't aware of a soundtrack or a comic. So that's what I learned about in this and basically researching the history of Shadows of the Empire. So, about you guys?
Yeah, same here. I mean, I had a friend who was talking about the book, and then my brother rented the N64 before buying it. He wanted to trial to test it, and ultimately he ended up getting it. And that game got a lot of mileage. I mean, there was no question about buying the game. And one time we rented Turok, got bored with it, and went back to playing Shadows in the same weekend.
I have not. I've only played Turok at like Funkoland at the time, so I've only played like a demo of it. I've never played the actual game. I was wondering if it was any good, besides just shooting dinosaurs and seeing polygon blood.
Yeah, I barely remember it. People say it's good. I don't remember anymore.
But yeah, for me, Shadows of the Empire really got me into Star Wars video gaming in general. Like playing that initial Hoth battle in the first level in the game was just freaking
off the hook.
I felt like I was in the game. I remember how like the controls were kind of, it was hard to control. Like you have your button, your thumb on the joystick to be able to do a full 360 degrees around the AT-AT. And I didn't even know they were called AT-AT or AT-STs until I played that game, because in the movie they were just called walkers. They just call them Imperial walkers. So
yeah, for me, I was a little younger when it came out. So I mean, I was 8 in 1996. So I didn't play it until a little bit later on. But for me, Shadows of the Empire and Rogue Squadron, both those games on N64 ended up taking up a ton of my time. 2 awesome Star Wars games on that platform. And when I did, I had no idea there was another book. I had no idea there were comics, anything like that. It was just, oh, this is a really cool game. What a cool story. Dash Rendar. And it wasn't until later, after I had, really gotten into the expanded universe, probably around 2000, I don't know, probably like 1 or 2 time frame, where I started looking for all the books I could find, that I came across Shadows and realized that there was comics to go along with it. And it's like, well, what is this entire Boba Fett story about? That's incredible. So so that was it for me.
So Ryan, I have to ask you, since you have in your background all those Star Wars books, I'm curious what book or what particular Star Wars story was your gateway into the expanded universe?
I actually have it right here. I can show it real quick, because I happened to tell this story the other day. It was this one, Jedi Apprentice: The Rising Force, which I got from a Scholastic book thing in 1999, right after Phantom Menace came out. Because I had just seen it. I was like, Obi-Wan's awesome. I love Obi-Wan. And I see this book with Obi-Wan, and I'm like, okay, I got to get that. And it's, it's written by Dave Wolverton, who unfortunately passed away recently. But that book was what got me hooked. Then I just wanted everything I could find. And reading that book is what led to my uncle giving me the Thrawn Trilogy and the X-Wing series that he had from years before. And it just kind of all spiraled from there.
So I mean, in my case, I only read Heir to the Empire. So I only read Heir to the Empire. It wasn't until I started college that I finally got a copy of Shadows of the Empire, and I read it because I used to commute to college every day, and that would be it took me about an hour and a half each day to get to and back from downtown Chicago. So that was basically my time was spent reading. I was reading that. I was reading the New Rebellion, a few other books that were just like laying on my shelf for years. So, what about you, Cash? Cash?
I had a question for Ryan. So Ryan, because I'm just getting back into reading more Star Wars books, if we need a book or a suggestion, do I just tweet you on Twitter?
I probably do need to make a video. One of my very first videos I did was how to get an expanded universe, but that's very dated and old, and I need to make a new one. But my recommendation always is try to give yourself the best chance. So for most people, I would say start with the original Thrawn trilogy. Not because, it starts right after Return of the Jedi or whatever, but just because I think it gives you a really good idea of what to expect from the EU. It takes place about 5 years after Return of the Jedi, right around there. I think it's 8 or 9 ABY. So, and what every Star Wars fan was asking after Return of the Jedi credits rolled was, well, what happens to the galaxy? What happens to Han and Leia? Do they fall in love? Do they get married? Do they have kids? What happens with Luke? Is he going to continue to use his Jedi powers? And I feel like that's a book that answers all the questions in a way that makes a lot of sense for people as to how it starts out. So that's always what I'll recommend. But if you're not interested in post Return of the Jedi, I would not recommend reading that. If you're like, I'm really into Clone Wars era, then I would say, find stuff in that era. If you want to know Old Republic, or if you want to read a story about a Sith, then do the Darth Bane trilogy or something like that.
Yeah, I've been reading Legacy, so Legacy is quite interesting about Kate
the comics.
Skywalker. Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite comic series of all time. Now I feel like if you haven't read a ton of the EU, you're not going to have as much appreciation for it, because there's so much stuff they reference in there, between the Yuzong Vong and and who Darth Krayt actually is and all that stuff. And even in the later novels, they actually talk and start to delve into the one Sith a bit, and how they're in hiding and things like that. So
okay. Cool. Yeah. I just had to ask you, man. I know you're big into the books, so
yeah.
I got into Shadows of the Empire when I was younger. I was playing the 64 version, and it's just a fun game. It's a little glitchy, you do fall off the cliffs, but it's still it's still a fun game. And you get to see Boba Fett as Boba Fett, the real Boba Fett, not the imitation Boba Fett that we've seen recently.
Yeah, he's dangerous, and he flies around his jetpack and he shoots you.
That's right.
And if you're not careful, he'll kill you. And that's Boba Fett.
That's right.
And Dash grabs a jetpack and starts trying to fight him.
I know. I'll be honest. Gaul, I think is the longest level in the game, and it's probably the best. It's probably my favorite level in the game too.
It's a good 40 minutes.
Oh yeah, I mean, just going across the canyon. I mean, with the jetpack, the controls felt very kind of clunky, so I always got scared if I was going to fall or not and stuff, or whether or not I was going to properly land on the surface. So. But we have another panelist here. He needs no introduction. He's been on all my Star Wars streams. His brother survived the Death Star, was the only one that was wary of the rebels. Let's give a warm welcome to Baron Orman Tag.
Good.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
How's it going, Baron?
I'm on this side of the dirt. Let's just put it that way. So if you're on this side of the dirt and breathing, it's got to be a good day.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Nice to see you all again. Nice to meet you, Ryan. First time I had a chance to talk with you, sir. I had, of course, Cash Money and DJ Ronnie. I know I talked with you guys before, so.
Yeah, nice meeting you, man.
Yeah.
Great. And I like the fact that how much you're with the books and all that. I'm probably the oldest guy that's on this panel. I'm sitting here at about the age of 53. So I've had the luxury of experiencing the EU from virtually the beginning, starting with the Marvel comic. Right. I mean, when they sit back and say, what's the book that got you into the EU? I had to go back right to virtually the beginning. Someone sat back and told me, hey, you've got to read this book. And I said, why? He says, well, there's some weird stuff going on in that one with being Luke and Leia and that and so on. So it's like, okay, I read it, and that being the story treatment, if Star Wars didn't work out right, that was going to be the sequel. Thank God Star Wars worked.
Yeah, that was basically going to be like the low budget sequel that George had planned, that he had Alan Dean Foster write. And yeah, luckily people liked Star Wars and it worked out.
I heard that like they literally killed, I don't know if they killed Vader, but they made Vader kind of seem left for dead. And yeah, like there was a lot of things that like don't mesh well with the rest of the saga.
They
like
really
Luke
play
and,
on
Luke and Leia.
Yeah,
doesn't Luke and Leia get like Luke gets Leia instead of Han getting Leia? So
they really play on that relationship potential there.
Yeah. Luke was trying to get there, but he was kind of getting blocked. He was getting lightsaber blocked from Leia, but he was trying to make moves on her in the book. And even though you had that iffy, what happened to Vader at the end is like it's still open. Vader can come back. Type of situation, so it wasn't ever a closed and done deal for Vader in the back of the book. I'm not going to say anything more. I don't want to ruin anybody who hasn't read the book, but it's great Star Wars apocrypha, even in the EU. Now, Ryan, I was listening to your suggestions for books, and I have to go that if people don't want the post Return of the Jedi series, and say they don't want to have like Clone Wars or Jedi, I always heavily recommend the Brian Daley books for Han Solo and the L. Neil Smith books for Lando Calrissian.
Those are real underrated ones. I have a friend, Matt Wilkins, who loves the Lando trilogy. He absolutely loves them. He wants everything that happens. He just wants more Lando. He wanted so much more Lando in the EU. So.
We love Lando. I mean, when Empire Strikes Back, even though he did his little dirty deed on Cloud City, we still love the guy. It was a great addition to the saga, and I was always happy to see him come back in Return of the Jedi. But most importantly, he came back in the book that we're talking about. Or actually, I shouldn't say book, but let's face it, it's an event. It really was an event, and I think George Lucas already had in mind to do the Phantom Menace at this time. This wasn't testing the waters. I think he knew it. But he wanted to fire his fans up because the book came out in 96. If anybody takes a look at the art of the Phantom Menace, you'll see that artwork was started on that movie in 1996.
Yeah.
So this was a ramp up. And of all the things, and this is one of the things where it's like Disney with space conflicts. Thank God that he didn't do it, but they sat back and said, "Well, we're going to wipe everything out that George wasn't involved in. We're only going to have the TV shows, the movies, and such." The thing is, George's fingerprints are all over this project. This is as much as baby as anything else, and this should have been included in the saga, even when we go over to when it got transferred over to Disney space conflicts.
I'm curious how he was involved, because I know it was people under him that proposed to Shadows of the Empire in the first place, and then they used all their licensing agreements to basically create all the merchandise that would usually come with the movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have your game, you have your novel, your comic, your soundtrack, and toy line.
But you had the role playing game supplements they came out with West and James, which was just as important.
I think that I personally think that we don't see the prequels if we don't have the success in 1991 of Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire. I think that and those books that all sold absolutely incredibly well invigorated a lot of people back in Star Wars stuff, which allowed a lot of these video games to be so successful in this era, which allowed Shadows of the Empire to become a multimedia event. Who would have cared? Who would have paid attention to this if we hadn't had these massive bestsellers just a few years before that continued the saga and got people interested again?
Exactly. I agree. So yeah, I mean, I think the soundtrack for Shadows of the Empire was originally was originally for the Thrawn trilogy, but that kind of fell by the wayside, and so we get Joel McNeely's soundtrack that basically 2 weeks. It took him 2 weeks to compose the entire thing. The only track I'm familiar with, because I didn't even know this soundtrack existed. I thought this because when I looked for Shadows of the Empire soundtrack, I was looking for the video game soundtrack, which basically had like just a bunch of cues and riffs from Empire that wasn't used in the movie, like the title on the game, like the opening title of the game. So, but I heard some of it, and I'm like, I've heard this before. I've heard this destruction of Shizor's palace, for instance. The blue palace. You plant the bombs. You use the jetpack to plant the bombs on the pillar, and then boom, you fight the gladiator droid, and that's the end of Shizor's palace. But yeah, the music I thought was interesting. They got Ben Burtt to like do lyrics or to do lyrics, and I thought, what was the lyrics called again? It was I took thorough notes on this. It's called Da Verda Werda or Da Werda Werda or something. So
yeah, and that was all about the battle between the two species on Coruscant, or back at that time it was called Coruscant. That was changed for the Phantom Menace. But it even started delving into a little bit more prehistory of Star Wars universe just in that by itself.
Yeah, it just amazes me how much lore and background and work was put into something like that, like the history of Coruscant, like just the legend of Coruscant. So
yeah.
So going forwards, Bantam did Bantam took care of the book. Dark Horse took care of the comic. Obviously, LucasArts took care of the game, or did someone else work on the game and LucasArts published it? So I know LucasArts was a publisher. I'm not sure if they were also a developer.
I thought this one was in house, but they did so much during that time that easily could have farmed it out. Let me look real quick.
Yeah, my guess is it probably was in house because this was such a big event, so tied together that they want to make sure that everything mesh. But you never know. Even farming out, obviously, with the West End Games role-playing games and how they were able to sync it in with the whole thing, so it's possible.
Yeah, it was LucasArts.
Okay, because I know the intent of the the original what do you call it? The original level, the first level in the game, the Battle of Hoth. They basically just wanted to. It was not part of the original story. It was not part of the novel or the comic, but they still wanted to bring that innovation, that little flight simulator, that open area, and just shoot and basically just shoot your probe droids, your ATSTs, and all that. So
yeah, and that was kind of the genius thing about this whole project. Honestly, you almost needed to read the book, then read the comic book, because there was stuff that was, if you were just going to read the comic book yourself, you're going to go under, what the heck's going on with this part? I don't understand. Well, you had to get that from the novel, and then there was some stuff in the novel that was ambiguous that the comic book helped flesh out. So they're making this to a point that they're almost making us, you have to follow along. Obviously, with the video game, they're putting that extra level in where they have the Battle of Hoth there to add on to that story, making it bigger, making it richer, encompassing more aspects to it.
Yeah, and then of course, right after that, because in this we play as Dash. Dash basically has to escape from Echo Base, so we get to see as the level begins, we get to see the Millennium Falcon do its escape and stuff, and then we go in, we engage snow troopers, and then if you're on Jedi mode, you have to do 75. You have to hit the Wampas 75 times to beat them. If you want to get the extra challenge points and stuff.
The Wampas used to make my heart skip a beat sometimes. They would just creep up behind you, make that
Yeah, I would have to back off every time because the blaster only did so much damage. So
yeah, you just gotta stand back from them, walk backwards, take it slow. The easiest way to kill Wampas at Echo Base is to open the cages and basically just let them fight it out. And by the time the three of them fight it out, the third one is weakened enough to die after a couple of shots.
I remember when we were playing this and we were just like, this is amazing.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's so real. Like, Probe Droid just like hopping up and down. Like,
it's still fun though, you know, and this was on N64 and PC. It's just, there's just so much to do in this game.
Well, just some of the details, like when you bank and you have like, when you bank and the flaps come up for the air resistance and stuff, like
so cool.
Like little stuff like that.
Yes.
It may not seem like a lot, but those little details that they put in this game are pretty incredible.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, honestly, you take a look at it for a game that's almost 30 years old, 25 at least. Those are pretty good graphics. They're holding up pretty good.
Yes, they are.
The N64 era, like that era of games, doesn't hold up well because they were at a point where technology, they were like taking a step up, but they weren't ready to take the next step. So when you look at games like this or like GoldenEye, like some of those don't hold up because they're trying to do so much compared to what they have available, really.
And the controller wasn't the best.
N64 controller.
It's got problems, but you can still get them to work.
I had no complaints when I was playing, but
Okay, we got another guest to join. He does game reviews, and he has a great review on Shadows of the Empire. Let's welcome Jake James Lugo. How you doing?
Hey everyone, how's it going, people? Nice to see you.
Man?
Nice to meet some of you. Some of you I know, some of you I watched your content. It's nice to say what's up and talk Shadows, because I saw this briefly and I was like, "There's no freaking way I'm not going to be part of this conversation," because I love Shadows of the Empire. I love Star Wars games.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to send you a DM because I'm not.
You could always just send me a DM and be like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?"
Yeah, I did. I mean, I sent you a friend request on Discord. So
okay, got you. All right, I got it.
So yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, I'm glad you reached out because yeah, absolutely. So I mean, this game. I mean, I saw the original trilogy the year before. So when 95 hit, they reissued it was the last reissue of the original movies, the original theatrical versions of the original trilogy. So I got those. Those were literally my first movies I've ever owned was the original trilogy. So after watching those like millions of times and then playing this like just cemented my my interest in Star Wars like many times more. And then of course, this level really influenced Rogue Squadron. A few years later.
This changed a lot because the thing is up to this point, because remember, this came out before Rogue Squadron. This came out before a lot of other 3D Star Wars games. This was one of the first real big ones besides Dark Forces. And I think also Jedi Knight was on PC at the time or somewhere at time around then. This one made it good because it was easy to get into and easy to experience all the best, key bullet points of the Battle of Hoth in general in 3D in a seamless way. There wasn't a lot of other games, especially on the N64 at the time, that were doing this at this type of pace and also working very well. This whole section, because I just reviewed this game, I want to say more than I want to give it like maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, because I did it around Star Wars month, around Star Wars Day, where I played through it again, just to play through it for the review, and it still holds up very freaking well. It's one of the better segments of the game, but just one of the better Star Wars segments made for gaming.
I just noticed that. Yeah, I just noticed this is on Steam right now. So I actually,
this is the PC version.
I have not. I'll be honest. I've never played the PC version. I've been waiting to get an N64 copy. So I might with my computer now. I can probably play this easily.
It was If I remember, it was a bit tedious taking down those ads.
the three loops, I remember it in Rogue Squadron way more than this game specifically. But yeah, because the camera is just not, they weren't really there, right? They weren't ready for something like that. So you have very little perspective. I cannot tell you how many times I ran my snow speeder into the leg of an AT-AT.
Because
not always the best game.
Yeah, same here.
I would argue it's better than the one in Rogue Squadron because this one here, look, there goes right there, right? That one is actually, you can move a little bit slower and you have a little bit much more better view of your control when you're actually moving around with your speeder compared to Rogue Squadron where it's kind of brought out. When I did the review of Rogue Squadron, I was noticing that where certain stuff like taking down an AT-AT with the tow cable, you're getting this view that's pulled out. And I think of the PC version for both games, that's the same thing, with Rogue Squadron being the one that has a little bit more problems with that way that it came from consoles to PC. It has a little bit more camera issues there.
One more pass.
I always
that's right.
Challenge point.
Cable out, let her go.
Yeah.
Detach cable. Cable detach. I'll be honest, I said this in my last stream. Jansen smiles like all the time. Like he has that big grin, like that childish, boyish grin. And he's just like, yeah, I'm knocking down Imperials and stuff.
Well, and that's that was his personality in the expanded universe. After that, that's all they had to go off of, right? And what they just totally made him like the jokester, like always smiling, always messing with people, always screwing around with Wedge. Yeah.
These are the other big differences with the PC version. You get the CG cutscenes instead of the still images. Remember, the still images were the ones that were kind of like matte paintings that they had like a little bit more like the classic characters look like the classic OT characters. But this one was trying to mess around with the technology at the time, even though it's dated by today's standards. But back then, remember, this is 97, 98. I think it is. Where 98 is where the PC version came out because it was exclusive to the N64 for a time. So it was like big things for a lot of people in the 3D realm space.
Yeah, that's funny because I mean I watched a documentary that Cash sent my way. I learned that they originally wanted Boba Fett to be the main character of this game, and the whole video game would have been between Empire and Jedi, between all the misadventures of Boba Fett, just simply trying to deliver Han Solo.
Funny thing,
coming across so many bounty hunters that one
and it was also interesting because the Nintendo was breathing down their neck when you watch that documentary. You're like, "Geez, man, it's like
they literally
you get this done."
They had to hide the control because it was 90. It was like this was developed, I believe, in 95 because the game came out in 96. The controller, the N64 wasn't out, so the controller had to be a secret.
Box.
So they had to keep it in a box. I was like, "Whoa." I'm like, I wouldn't put this past Nintendo
out and can't even see it because they were so secretive. They were so worried that other companies like PlayStation and other companies at the time were going to like jack their tech.
They thought it was actually good, and it turned out nobody wanted that.
So these type of levels, I think, were based off of the Dark Forces games because I don't think they really did 3D games like this third person view.
Well, Dark Forces is based on
Dark Forces.
Dark Forces was based off of Doom, the way that it was built with that type of engine. It was like Doom and Hexen at the time. But this one was actually true 3D character where you could see Dash Rendar. The other thing, too, about that, which is funny enough, like when they were conceptualizing Dash Rendar as a character for the whole multimedia event, he originally had longer hair. And the only reason why he got short hair is because it made it easier to render out with the polygons on the N64.
Well, yeah, because they made him look like Kevin Costner. They made him look like Don Johnson.
Yep.
LucasArts in the 90s and the early 2000s would basically look at successful games and they'd say, let's do that, but Star Wars. So Doom, but Star Wars. Civilization, but Star Wars.
Good point.
Like they did that a lot.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it worked really well in a lot of ways. Now they turned out some bad games, but they also turned out some absolutely amazing games.
Speaking
of,
I reviewed all those.
Swampas.
Yeah, speaking of Terrace Kazi,
there we go.
That was started in the Shadows of the Empire novel by the author Steve Perry because he practiced it was based off, I forgot what it was called, it was an Indonesian martial arts that Terakazi was based off of. I've never heard of this. My brother knew about this because he played the game.
Look how fast he runs.
Terakazi game.
Iron Fist. Which is cool.
I wish I could run that
the way that game came out, it was like Tekken. It tried to be anyway.
I think it was me and my brother went and saw the Solo movie, and that where what's her name? What's her name? Kira says hey, I practice Terakazi. My brother was impressed. Other than that,
I wasn't impressed. I was upset that they stole something from the expanded universe in a bastardized movie.
That was a rough movie. I'm not gonna lie.
That Solo had its problems. I did not like Kira. I did not like her.
I did not like her.
No.
Yep. Well, anyone who liked the Daily and Neil Smith books would hate Solo. I mean, where's Vuffy Raw? And then they put the feminist droid in there.
Solo was just literally every everything that you would know about Han Solo from watching the movie, they crammed into it 36 hours of his life. And it's so ridiculous.
It's just I did like young Lando, though. I thought the actor did a good job. Young Lando, yes.
Yeah,
Donald Glover.
Yes, Donald Glover.
Donald Glover.
By the
way, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, by the way, like if you notice, like in some of the sections now that they're shown in the video, using the other weapons, besides the blaster in a Star Wars game or just like controlling a Star Wars universe, this was pretty cool because again, you got stuff like the seeker missiles, like what he has there. You got a pulse rifle, a flamethrower, the disruptor. Everybody remember the disruptor? The most powerful. Like very few of them, but like they were pretty freaking ridiculous. And the crazy thing is that because it hurts you, like you have to be like so diligent where you use it like towards the gladiator droid and a lot of other stuff later in the game.
Yeah, the disruptor was really helpful against the head of the disruptor droid.
You can't hit the damn thing.
And you really go ahead.
Go ahead.
You really had to also be careful about how you shoot things because the camera angles aren't always the best. So you're like, why can't I shoot that thing up on the cliff? Stupid droid.
The targeting sucks in this game, I'll admit. Like it compared to like Dark Forces, where it's a little bit more like an FPS. This one, because you have to hold the Z button, you have to angle with that analog stick in the N64 control. It's so weird and awkward. So when he gets to the ATST, eventually, like you're probably gonna see him going like this, and it looks weird and janky and stuff.
Yeah, this room makes me think of Jedi Outcast a little bit. I think there was like similar, like in between, rooms that kind of had that same look.
Yeah,
with the two sides.
The Jedi Knight series, it definitely. This is like an evolution between, was the original Jedi Knight game?
Yeah,
that
came up.
Dark Forces.
And then, Dark Forces.
Dark Forces was after Jedi Knight, and then Jedi Knight spun off to Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and then Jedi
Yeah, this is like the evolution between Dark Forces and Jedi Knight 2. You know what I mean? Like that's what this feels like.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, there are definite vibes to Dark Forces in the Second Sea, as well as going its own path.
Jedi Outcast is probably like one of the best Star Wars video games ever made.
Agreed.
Like that, they really still haven't got lightsaber combat as good as they had it in that game. Everyone can go on about how smooth lightsaber combat is in Jedi Fallen Order. But although it is smooth and it looks really good, it's still nothing compared to how you were able to control it in that game.
And Jedi Academy had it with the multiplayer, which was even better because then you could go in lightsaber fights with your friends. That was fun.
Insane, man. There's still some servers that do that, from my understanding.
The mods that they do for the cinematic battles on PC that use that same system. That's so cool to me.
So you're saying that you think the saber fights or the lightsabers are better than Force Unleashed?
Yeah. So Force Unleashed, your lightsaber is like a baseball bat. You know what I mean?
I see.
Like that's how I feel about it.
Would you guys recommend playing Force Unleashed 2? I like the first one. I thought it was a very good game. I just haven't played it
the second game is only like 3 levels. Like there's like a very long Canon Nemoidia level.
No DLC. That's the other thing.
It's rushed, but I mean,
well, there was DLC for number 2. Was Endor?
I thought it was just for 1 because that was like the extra like what if scenarios, like when you go into the original trilogy. I don't remember. From
yeah. 2. Yeah, I talked about this. Last time. For first Force Unleashed, you go to the evil ending where you become Vader, where Starkiller kills Vader, and then he becomes Emperor's new right hand man. Well, he goes to Tatooine and gets in trouble with Jabba. I forget exactly what, but then he manages to get to the droids on by the Millennium Falcon, and he kills Obi-Wan. And he kills Obi-Wan's Force Ghost. I couldn't believe it. Fight Obi-Wan. You fight and destroy Obi-Wan's Force Ghost. You know how that made me feel? I felt dirty.
As you should.
Yeah.
And then there was a second DLC where you go to Hoth. Yeah, you go to Hoth, and you're sneaking, underground in like all the, the cavernous, tunnels underneath that lead into Echo Base. And I played this like around the same time that the Blu-ray came out, and I saw that seeing the shots that were deleted when the Wampas were supposed to break into Echo Base that was completely cut out of the movie. It made me think of that. So you go in and you basically take out all the rebels and you turn Luke to the dark side. And Luke shoots red lightning at you, not blue lightning, red lightning. And then they never followed that up because he becomes your apprentice. And I was like, oh, we're going to take on the Emperor next. No, it didn't happen. Then we get an Endor DLC that was actually DLC of the Force Unleashed 2 evil ending. And it was not good. I didn't like it.
Yeah, okay, I'll keep that in mind then. It doesn't sound like I want to buy it.
It's really cool. I know that Force Unleashed very soon is coming on a Switch. That's the Wii version of it, though. I don't know if it comes with the DLC stuff for the Ultimate Sith Edition, but it's cool to see like Aspyr like actually remastering a lot of these games because they did the ones for all platforms for the Jedi Knight games. They did it for Knights of the Republic. I'm pretty sure they're going to do KOTOR 2 at some point because it's just awesome to see this.
I want to play the new KOTOR 2 that has the HK factory. I've been meaning to do it, and I just
you should. I
haven't gotten around to it. Because I'll be honest, I loved all the conversations with Crab, but just the ending was just
the ending is
underwhelming.
rushed. It's underwhelming. You beat her or whatever, and then you're like, oh, and then it's not as long as the first game, and it's kind of disappointing. But
it was what's funny was that game
really good.
Yeah, that game preceded Revenge of the Sith, so you get to see Jedi being killed before Revenge of the. This was right before Revenge of the Sith. This is like 5 months, like 5 months.
Order 66 beta.
Yeah,
the Revenge of the Sith video game came out, I think, 2 weeks
prior to
before the movie. So I played it when it came out. So I was told all my friends, I'm like, you are not gonna believe this. Mace Windu and Anakin have this like crazy duel, and like so, like entire movie, I was waiting for that to happen because that happens in it. When you go and interrupt it as Anakin, you have to fight Mace Windu, but like real fight, and then he literally just like chops his arm off. And then, Palpatine, lightning's about the window. And everybody was so mad at me that I had told them that they were going to fight.
Yeah, they did that purpose.
I know.
They did that purpose. There's extra scenes in that game that make some of the scenes in the movie so much better. Like, there's another fight that he fights against Syndralic, which is awesome.
Syndralic is the one that I think a lot of people would have loved. And that makes it into the novelization, I think he also shows in the hologram that Obi-Wan's looking at when he's with Yoda. At one point, it's like really creepy. It's not as cool. Don't get me wrong, but still. No, and not at all.
Mm-hmm. I honestly, I love the novelization of Revenge of the Sith. It's the only novelization I've ever read, and I think it's better than the movie. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I think it is.
It's like if George Lucas had been allowed to do like a Snyder cut length movie. You know what I mean? Like a 4-hour movie. Like that's what Revenge of the Sith probably should have been, and that's a lot of what we got. Like Matthew Stover, actually, he talks about it a lot. He sat down with George for days. For days, he had meetings with George to talk about that book.
So were these like were all those like the stuff that was different in the book? Was that all from Matthew Stover, or was that from Lucas?
It was from Lucas, and then Stover expanded upon a lot of stuff, but a lot of those ideas that are in there in terms of what's going on in their heads, like all of that stuff was what George wanted to put out there. That's what he wanted the book to be.
Because I remember in the book, Yoda like straight out loses to Palpatine. Like he gets hit with, I think he gets hit with the lightning. And then Yoda has that, that insane revelation where he's like, "Oh, I never would have won. I lost before I was even born," or something. Or I forgot how exactly they put it.
Yeah, before I even walked in there, I lost. Basically, something like that. Yeah.
I think that was basically them saying, the Sith had been watching them for for at least 1,000 years, so they know they know more about the Jedi than the Jedi know about them. So that's why, at least that's how I interpreted it.
But to me, Palpatine is, one that they have they've completely neutered the Jedi for a long time, but Palpatine's also basically, I would say, close to the height of his powers. Whereas he's almost dead, age-wise.
Age-wise, yes.
Over 900 at that point.
I mean, when 900 years old you reach, look as good you do not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If he's not, put it in human terms, he's basically 90. In Return of the Jedi, so he's like 87 or something when he fights. You know,
Yeah,
that's how I
exactly.
think
It is
about it.
jank right here.
And
It is jank with
and
the-
he's even admitting also that the Jedi are not as strong as they used to be. That that they don't have what they used to have, the visions and such. So it was like they're weakening. The Sith, or in the case Palpatine, is growing strong. You're seeing the waning and the rising as it goes along, and a lot of people, of course, attribute to the fact that the Jedi became kind of corrupt, full of themselves, not losing their way, you might say.
I'm curious now that we're talking about the Emperor and stuff. I'm curious if they kind of took elements of the character of Prince Shizor, the cunning, the manipulation, and kind of input that into Palpatine and later Maul. I'm just wondering what your thoughts on that are.
You mean Maul
perhaps.
after they decided to bring him back to life?
Yeah, way later. Yeah.
Spider Maul.
You mean
surprised
not
they
the
didn't
character he
bring-
was ever designed to be?
I'm really surprised they didn't even bring Shizor into canon, like in some way, like Black Sun. Like Black Sun to me is another organization that would sounded very cool, especially in the novel for Shadows of the Empire. That would have been sweet to see in other Star Wars media, like in something like Rebels or something like afterwards, like what we got in the Mandalorian. As like things progress after or post Emperor.
And they did bring Black Sun in, but they didn't bring Zizor.
Okay, but Shizor I think would have been sweet though. I mean, granted, obviously, like not so far down the timeline. This is why I say like Shadows of the Empire should have gone like a rendition, like redone for the new canon, because it's such a cool story.
I think they were implying. I think they were implying Shizor being part of Black Sun in the last batch of Clone Wars that they put out there with the Ahsoka.
I thought that was just a random Baleen though.
Yeah, I think they're
a different
implying.
Yeah.
It is. I thought they were implying that was Shizor.
That specific one, I think that person appeared in. I don't remember if it was Clone Wars or maybe Solo or Rebels or something, but it's already there. Like that person is an established person. It's not. It's not Shizor.
It's not Shizor. Okay.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like they're kind of playing with the holograph that they had there with the crime lords that Darth Maul was looking at.
I remember so many people said that they're like, look, they're doing it. It's like, nah, they already like made a bastardized Shizor for Rebels, just like they did everything else, bastardized.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
yeah, exactly.
By the way, you guys remember the ships for Black Sun, which is in this game, the Virago? That's a cool ship design, like for real. The fighters.
Yeah, I heard they didn't. They wanted to make a toy out of that, but they didn't get a chance to do that.
They did though,
that.
in the micro machine. The
Micro Machine.
I got the micro.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but they did make a big one for the action figure. So
yeah.
Yeah, I like that X looking design of the Black Sun fighters and stuff.
They're cool. They're very, very cool.
About the big one that they had for a ship of that was the Outrider, and I thought that was a very disappointing toy.
Yes.
It was like, really, honestly,
what the heck was that? Battle mode with a turret and it turns sideways.
It looked like a beamer almost.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
The rotating cockpit.
Do you guys have all the action figures from Shadows?
Yes.
No, I don't. I don't have any of them.
I had a Shizor, I had a Dash, I had the Palace Trooper, I think it was.
Oh, that one's Luke Skywalker. Yeah, I got that over here.
Oh yeah,
really cool.
And they also released a comic book action figure set with Prince Shizor and Darth Vader. And you had a comic book that came with it.
Nice.
But yeah, anyone have the swoop?
Oh no, I didn't. I forgot this. So that's the other one I probably missed out.
It has a missile on it.
Really?
There's no missile. I don't think they ever had. Did they have a missile in the novel? I know it's not in the game.
I think so. Not that I remember.
Yeah, I think it was.
You're talking about this. You're talking about the Jabba, the gangster, the
swoop gang
the
bikes.
swoop
Yeah,
gang.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like speeders, like basically.
Yeah, where you had the Imperial agent that was sneaking in with the swoop gang.
Yo, you guys remember the commercials for those? The commercials for the toys were awesome. Not just the Power of the Force or the Shadows of the Empire line, but even the Micro Machines one for the Action Fleet where they had the Virago there. Like that stuff to me was awesome. That was like one of the best parts of my childhood was the toy commercials. So freaking sweet.
Yeah, I got two dashes actually. I've got the dash right there.
Here,
That's such a cool label. I love that label on the toys.
Yeah.
You took me out.
Sorry, my bad.
That's all right.
I'm still learning this stuff.
You click on the profile picture looking thing.
Oh, okay.
Hollow. The
There
hollow.
we go. Here we go.
Ah,
Look at
cool.
that.
Oh, nice, dude. Oh, you know what? Maybe I do have one of those figures now that I think about it.
I've got that one. I've got the Luke in his Imperial Guard design.
Ooh, yeah. When they
That's
sneak
cool.
into when they sneak into the palace.
He looks
Okay.
jacked as hell. Look at him.
Are these
Oh, yeah.
actually worth some money, Ryan? Or
You can buy these, I know, in some
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, you probably like. I mean, I think most of these I found for like $10 or $15. Not, not like a lot of money.
yeah, that's good.
There's Leia in her. I think
That's
I know
really
I have.
cool.
I know the last place I saw them, like you could actually go to buy them, was Tate's down here in South Florida. That you could buy like a bunch of them. There you go. She's
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Fans. His
Purple lightsaber, too.
Freaking forced fans or whatever.
And to be honest, too, the Bosch figure, that was just a repackaged one. They already had that out before. They just repackaged it as Shadow of the Empire.
Cool.
Oh, so we're approaching in this game. We're approaching the end of the Empire Strikes Back event. So, how the book begins is very interesting. I'm sure you guys. Have all you read it? I know, Ryan. I'm sure you've read it.
It's been a while, but yeah.
Is
Did
the
I read
audio
the comic?
comic
Because the comic's a little different from the novel.
Yeah, I think
Very
the
much.
comics actually like takes
comics
place like
focus
right
on-
after Empire. Like takes place like they're on the medical frigate, and when how Empire ends on the medical frigate, I think it takes place right after that.
Don't
Like
the comics
Medi-
focus way more on Boba? And
Yeah. A
the
little
bounty
bit more,
hunters,
yeah.
if I remember.
There is a large function that basically because they're trying to hunt down Boba Fett, the bounty hunters. They want to try to get Han so they can get the bounty
Exactly.
to get to Jabba. So you had IG-88.
IG-88's
and
trying to. He has a fight with Boba Fett and Slave One, right?
Exactly.
Over
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
they
they
even
they
have-
get into a fight over Tatooine, and then of course
I think he goes to Gaul, I thought, right? To Gaul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boba
Or
Fett
they all
goes.
go to
Yeah,
Gaul.
Boba Fett goes to Gaul, and IG-88 goes to the junkyard of Ord Mantell. So the next level after this, the train level, and that's where you fight.
The junkyard.
You fight IG-88 and stuff. I'll be honest. I'd be honest. I was surprised because I playing this game. I didn't realize that IG-88 was an Empire. I looked closer and like, wait, that is IG-88.
Yeah, he's in the background.
I didn't because in the like the little VHS TV, the little TV so we had, it's hard to see the full
You just thought he was
screen
like
and
some
stuff.
random droid or something or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was, to be honest. I looked closer, like that is him. I was like, ooh, yeah, that's awesome.
Imagine how much like we used to think about that and like the stories we would try, like who is this guy? You'd find a source book and you'd be like, Dangar. What the heck? What is Dangar? What's his
all this
story?
stuff you
And
missed.
then you have an entire tale
Yeah.
about Dangar and how he gets saved by or spared, I'll say, by Boba and ends up saving Boba and stuff like that. So cool.
See, but and when it came around to like the comic books, you kind of had about 3 different sections in here. Of course, you had like the was like a 6-issue comic series. You had the bounty hunter. You might as well call it a little bounty hunter war going on, trying to get Han Solo. You had Darth Vader sending an agent by the name of Jix to infiltrate the Swoop Gang because he's anticipating Luke to be going to Tatooine. He was supposed to be trying to help so they could try to capture him. With Jabba's palace, and then he did have some of the stuff with Luke and kind of fillers that were out of the book that they were doing with Shizor's palace, and of course, in the beginning, like you're talking, they're on board the medical frigate, and one of the scenes that I remember in that comic was that Luke is getting anxious. He sees it going on. He wants to join the battle, and they're being told, "No, you're not ready yet. Look at your hand," and his hand virtually crushing the table and not realizing he's got to learn to have control of that hand before he can go out there, because just a simple thing like that, he can crush somebody, crush somebody's hand or some equipment.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. I never knew that.
It was, and like I said, you almost you had to have the book to read the comics, because, like I said, there'd be holes in there. It's like, what's this hole about? What this is going on? And of course, like I said, you have Jex, the Imperial agent. The book really never touches him. You don't see anything about the battles with Boba Fett in the book. It's all centered around, of course, the team trying to infiltrate with Shizor, his Skyhook Palace, of course, Dash Rendar, and what's the next step we have going on there.
That was the cool part about what they did was they they didn't just give you the same story in a game, in a book, in a comic, right? It was different stories all revolved around the same exact event. And that's the first time we really saw them do something like that, which obviously we then saw a lot more. That was kind of a change, because up until that point, you might have an author that does a trilogy. You might have someone like Kevin J. Anderson who pays very close attention to everything going on and wants to connect things. So he brings a brief aside of something that happened in a Zahn book that I'm going to reference in Jedi Academy. But it really wasn't until it goes to Del Rey and you have New Jedi Order where it's like we're sitting down, we're planning it, and we have books and books and books across multiple different authors that we're going to plan this entire thing out. But Shadows was kind of the first semblance of that.
Right. Definitely. And you had a little bit also with Kevin J. Anderson with the Academy, because he also referenced Dark Empire with that too.
He referenced Dark Empire, and obviously he referenced his own comics.
And what's interesting about, of course, the Shadows of the Empire, when Daly did the Return of the Jedi audio radio show, they referenced Shadow of the Empire straight in there, directly.
Return of the Jedi radio show?
Yeah, because you had, of course, back in the early 80s, the audio drama. Yeah. So you had the 13-part Star Wars audio drama, radio program, 1980 or so. Then you had the 10-part Empire Strikes Back. Then we had that long period when we're in the wilderness. And in about 96, 95, 96, Brian Daly finished it up with a 6-part episode series of the radio play. And then in that, he directly makes reference to the Shadows of the Empire. So they're connected. And what's important about that is George Lucas loved the radio plays so much. Not only did he give them the blessing, he let them go about use this gratis. Basically they weren't having to charge because it was going to public radio. He also considered it about that much below the movies for canon at that time. Cool. Really? That much below. He considered that, this is just about as canon as you can get below the films. And that was for the Empire Strikes Back and the Star Wars. Obviously, he had to say the same thing about the Return of the Jedi one, because they're all done by Brian Daly before he sadly passed away.
So you said Return of the Jedi, the audio drama came out in the 90s?
Yes, it did, yeah. In fact, Brian Daly, I can't remember if he died just before it aired or just before it aired. Finally, he passed away from cancer.
Because did they bring anyone back? Because I know in the first two, I know Mark Hamill was involved, Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels.
Right. So you basically had everybody come back. Billy D. Williams came back. Mark Hamill didn't. There was somebody else actually played Luke Skywalker. So none of the big three were played by the original characters at all. But Anthony Daniels did come back. Ed Asner played Boba, not Boba, but Jabba the Hutt. Oddly enough.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, that was Ed Asner in there.
Was he speaking Huttese?
Yes, he was.
Oh my gosh!
It was all Huttese. Of course, Brock Peters came back to play the part of Darth Vader. So, so basically, they grabbed everybody that was still around from the original ones, including the ones that played the original characters. The Ann Sachs and I can't remember who the other one was. Han and Leia. Everyone who was involved, they brought back and did that, except for Mark Hamill was not able to at the time, or he would have.
But I hate to interrupt, but I actually have to get going here.
All right.
This was awesome. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Yeah, it was really nice to talk to everybody and meet you guys. So thanks for the invite.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
No problem. Don't you have
sometime soon?
Don't you have a channel, Ryan? Don't you have lots and lots of subscribers?
He's got a channel?
I
I never heard of him.
I do have a channel. You can search Ryan Kinnell. You can search RK Outpost. You'll probably find one of my millions of channels out there. But thank you guys. I really appreciate hanging out.
Hey, Ryan, before you go, man, you and Jeremy inspired me to start streaming again. So I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome to hear. Do you have a routine down or anything like that?
I'm working on it. Yeah, I was doing a stream of 5 hours. I'm working on this Phantom Hooligans with people. So, yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Awesome.
That's thank you so much for dropping by. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Is it cool if we hit you up on Twitter, man? Or
Yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter. I don't know if I'll always answer because
sure.
There's sometimes
you're
there's
busy,
notifications there, but yeah, you can feel free to hit me up anytime.
All right. Well,
Thanks,
may the
Ryan.
force be,
Appreciate
may
it,
the force
man.
be with
Have a
you.
good one.
Hey,
Good
you
talking
guys
to you,
too.
buddy.
Forth be with you, Ryan. Nice talking with you, man.
Bye.
Take care. All
Well,
right.
Real quick, if you guys are interested, I could share that image of the of my what you call it, Shadows of the Empire toy. So basically, what happened was a while back I was cleaning up. I needed an aquarium stand for my turtle tank, and I packed them away in the toy chest. They're not accessible anymore because there's like 400 pounds of water on top of it. But yeah, that's the swoop I mentioned earlier with the little missile. It's a spring-loaded missile actually too, so you can actually fire at the speeder bike over there. I don't have my Virago. What is it called? I used to call it Virago.
Virago.
Okay, I always thought Virago's veins for some reason. And then I got Red Luke over here. Did he have a helmet, by the way? Am I missing a helmet?
Yeah, he had a helmet on there.
Uh oh. Okay, I better find it.
That makes him look like the guards of the palace that Shizor has.
Well, he's not infiltrating without that helmet. Yeah, but
basically, that's what the red looking stormtroopers evolved into with Disney's space conflict.
Yeah, Sith troopers.
Yep. Well, actually, before that too, because I believe if you had even with the Clone Wars, you had the clone troopers with the red on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what inspired all that outfit.
Good info. Yeah, and then I got a Hoth guy over there, but he's not from Shadows. But he was kind of there. Beyond that, yep, that was the cool one that we got. I don't know if this was a bundle, but we got. I think the bundle was the Carbonite and of the ship, and maybe Boba Fett was a separate figurine. But this one was accurate. This was better than the Outrider. I don't know why I didn't take a picture of the Outrider. Probably because it doesn't have that gap in the middle where the ramp is. So who cares? But yeah, so that's basically that. Thank you for letting me share that. I'll pull out here.
No problem.
And just to let you know that Slave 1 basically is just a little tweaking of the original one from 1979, 1980 when the original Empire Strikes Back toys came out.
That's such a cool looking ship. Just in general, this is why everybody loves Slave 1, because you just look at that design. It's very unique. It's very different. And it just, again, it looks intimidating. Like in motion, obviously, like when you see it flying and stuff, it looks dope.
It's got that iron. It's got that iron design. So, like if you cross it, it'll flan you.
Yeah, you get tetanus touching that.
Well, have you ever wondered why Boba Fett looks neat? He makes sure the ship irons out and he doesn't have any wrinkles. No creases are all nice. It's because of his ship.
He needs to look fresh.
Oh yeah, straight up.
He's that Mando freshness.
Yep, this is true.
Mando freshness.
For real though, like I was saying earlier, the commercials for these toys were all freaking dope. And my favorite was the Action Fleet from Micro Machines, because every single I encourage you after the stream, go look them up on YouTube. They are so freaking fun to watch. Like it takes me back to that mid to late 90s. Like it's just, again, the Power of the Force collection toys, like that entire line that was narrated by Mark Hamill for a time, like all that stuff is just dope.
I guess for me, because I remember growing up watching the old Kenner ads from the 70s and all that, every Star Wars toy commercial always excited me. My parents hated it because it'd be a Saturday morning, I'd be up as a kid and start watching the Tom and Jerry's or whatever, and then they come out with the new Star Wars lines. I'd run and wake them up on a Saturday morning. It's like, yeah, right, go away, kid, you're bothering me.
For the record, this level sucked. When you play this on higher difficulties and you had that little curve, the jumps, that sucked.
Oh, yeah.
It's
when he goes on a curve and he turns, like you'll see him, like he'll start to go to the side. Like the amount that it actually pushed you sometimes was way too much, especially on the higher difficulties. Like what just happened now, it's just so annoying because you think you got it right, and then all of a sudden you just go right over the edge.
I always get hit at least twice, 2 or 3 times.
The camera angles, and then when you're on the cliffs and you can fall off. I mean. I don't know if you guys saw X-Wing falling off. It was pretty funny, but it happened. That's the last person I saw have a live stream of this. So,
let me ask y'all, do you guys remember a lot of the rewards you got for the challenge points? Because some of them were really cool. Some of them were kind of lame. Like after you played the game like 3 times. Like,
wasn't it like you get extra lives and stuff? And that was
what happens is the bonuses for each level when you complete the stage and you get to the end, it gives you bonus extra lives for finding them. But when you complete the game and you get all the challenge points for that save file, I think in the easy difficulty you get what's called the Lebo scanner, where you can look through walls and has that green overhead view and stuff. I think in hard or medium you get, I think it's like an invincibility where you could just crouch for a few seconds and you turn invincible for a short time. And I think in one of the higher difficulties beyond that, you get the ability to control, I think, as an ATST in the Battle of Hoth and an X-Wing in the Skyhook battle. Stuff like different things like that. Each difficulty had a different one. I think I'm forgetting one specifically.
Well, you got the debug code. If you beat it on Jedi mode and you do that code, hold down all of the buttons and move your analog stick 4 times left, halfway, halfway right. You can pretty much change everything in the game. Change how high you jump, whether you see fog, the colors, and basically kind of takes the fun out of it because now you can have 100 disruptors.
Yeah, and you're pretty much done with the game at that point after beating like 4 times or 5 times, getting all these challenge points.
So you get the abilities after. So after you beat the game,
you have to
get
beat
the
the
abilities
game first after finding all the challenge points in every stage.
And then you start a new. Then you start a new game, or you
no,
have to play the same file.
Then you could do all that stuff on
and
that.
Then you select. Then you select the level. You select the level, and then okay.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So you have to beat the game and get all the challenge points in that same save file. So then you could go back to each stage and then have those abilities afterwards, which is kind of lame when you think about it. The only way to get around that was the Wampa Stompa code, which is that you have to name your file Wampa Stompa, and you're able to do like extra stuff with it.
Huh.
Now, I have a question though. How many people think that this here they did the poor imitation of in Solo with the train?
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that too.
I didn't think the train sequence was terrible. I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty cool.
But the idea.
But I'm just saying just the idea, because here you have this train going out to the battle, going back and forth. How much do you think this might have helped inspire that? I mean, let's face it, they've been inspired so much from other stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is way cooler though, but that's just my opinion.
The Book of Boba Fett episode, yeah. Like
I always just
I'm not familiar with this Book of Fett.
Yeah, what is this? What is that? Oh gosh.
I mean, I have to sit back. I haven't seen that yet because I don't have Disney Plus, and be honest with you, I have no intentions to.
Baron, if you want to see it, I'll hook you up.
There's a train sequence in it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll hook you up, man. Don't worry about
it. Is that with credit or cash?
That's don't start. I love it.
Let me ask you, what did you guys overall in this game like all the boss fights? Because the boss fights to me are not only janky, but some of them as you get towards the later ones, especially towards the gladiator droid, can get really cheap depending on which difficulty you're on.
I mean, I thought they were. I thought they were fine. It's been a while since I played this, but
yes, me too.
All of them had a trick. All of them had a trick to it. ATSTs, you could pretty much get right under it, kneel, bend your back backwards, and just use your blaster and not waste any of your good ammunition. That gladiator droid was really disappointing when you got to the third part.
I'll be honest, I never did that. I always went on like the catwalks and tried to and ran across the catwalks trying to fight it.
Probably more
because I didn't know how to aim.
I mean, the loader droid. I'm sorry, the one before that. That's you get that one disruptor and you can literally kill that thing in like a second.
The one in the Suprosa, right?
The one in the freighter.
You get the supercomputer.
Cool. Yeah, exactly.
It's too bad there were no bobbins in that level. The book.
Oh yeah, like the ones you could accidentally shoot.
Stuff, make that scene so much better than the game because it's like it's not just Luke and Dash. So it's literally Rogue Squadron and the Bothans. That's also the spot that they say that the Bothans died to get this damn thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was
I think that was in the comic. They did that in the comic.
Yeah.
And let's face it, they're always dying. You look at it wrong. They're dying.
I don't think we've ever seen Bobbins outside of like besides Shadows of the Empire or besides them mentioning Return of the Jedi in the EU, because I don't think we ever see them in Clone Wars or anything Disney.
They've never gone live action or animated. It's always just been comics and the books. In fact, I don't think Bothans are even official in Disney space conflicts yet.
In Battlefront specifically, they are because Battlefront 1 and 2.
Oh, they are.
The EA one, they're considered canon, but you could play as Bothans in the Battlefront games. Like you could get.
So they did do that.
Actual was it skin of it, and I think it's also even goes back to the Pandemic games where you could play as a Bothan spy where it has that little like flamethrower looking weapon and stuff. They have a lot of stealth stuff within it. I think it's Battlefront 2 specifically. I could be wrong on that, but
Okay.
it's that I remember you seeing that because they say it in the game.
Because I remember for a while there, they were still keeping it up in the air. What are we going to do with Both? They were almost talking about changing the Bothans completely for space conflicts from Star Wars. So I'm glad that they're still alive in that universe as well.
Yeah. Oh, and Baron, don't worry. I know your credit is better than Nerds. So.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, now, come on.
Hey, Cash, are you familiar with Gene Shepard, the writer Gene Shepard? He's a guy that did, of course, it was his stories that inspired the Christmas Story with Ralphie and the Red Rider.
I don't know what it was, Baron. I just didn't read a lot of Star Wars books growing up. I'm just getting back into it now.
Oh, this is not Star Wars. This isn't Star Wars.
It's not. Okay.
Gene Shepard. He was on radio. He was a humorist. He wrote. And he inspired. Basically helped write the Christmas Story.
Well, send me some material on it later on Discord.
Well, actually, what I was going to sit back and say, he wrote a book called "In God We Trust, All Other Pay Cash," and I keep on thinking of that that's the only thing I was going to bring up.
Okay, I love it, Baron. I do. It's great.
There he is.
IG-88 battle.
There he is. There's IG-88.
There's the pulse rifle.
I was. Oh, go ahead.
I was disappointed that this wasn't because I told you guys I played the game first. I was disappointed that this wasn't in the book.
Yeah.
I thought this would have been a great chapter.
Well, I think it was just one of those things where they wanted to encompass this whole thing. So you're going to have stuff that wasn't in the book here and stuff that wasn't in the comic. So it was just, they wanted to have this a big, huge, gigantic event to get people pumped up. Really pumped up.
Everything had its own little thing that was like a pull for it. I know the game, especially with Nintendo. I remember when this game was getting made, that Nintendo wanted this to be like its own exclusive thing to like draw people to the N64. Like each little like segment of like the event had that. I mean, this thing even got a soundtrack, like a full orchestrated soundtrack for it, which is pretty wild when you think about it.
Yeah, Joel McNeely. I mean, he's done Young Indiana Jones. He's currently doing music for the Orville. So, like, he was like a protege of Jerry Goldsmith. So, hence why you hear a lot of familiar, musical riffs in the Orville especially from the Star Trek movies. Because go ahead.
I was going to say it was the Scottish orchestra that did it, Natural Orchestra that did the music, if I'm right.
Oh no! And the Royal Scottish National Orchestra performed the soundtrack.
And what frustrates me is it's so hard for me to play that CD because it was an interactive CD too. So you would go in there and it would go into the computer. You'd have images, files, all this stuff in relation to with information with the Shadows of the Empire as well as the music. But it always interfered with my CD player. So I put put it into my CD player to like play for a little bit and it would stop, and it's like, oh, dang you guys.
Y'all ever seen the vinyl for the soundtrack of Shadows of the Empire? I saw it recently within the last couple months because I went to some record store that I was visiting with my brother, and they had like a lot of different soundtracks there. And randomly, I ran into this thing just looking at it. I'm like, wow, this is surreal to see like this thing actually has a vinyl like soundtrack.
I never knew they had one.
Yeah, neither did I.
It's the cover art. It's the cover art of all the Shadows of the Empire stuff, especially from the book. It has on the front and the back where the track listing is the back part of the book cover.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
When I watch this game, it's just like we need more quality Star Wars games. And I've said this before, and I wish we could get Star Wars 1313 to come back. Maybe Lucasfilm games or whatever they're calling themselves. We can actually get that to come back. That would be awesome. They can finish that.
I actually liked Fallen Order. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I actually liked Jedi Fallen Order.
It has that Dark Souls type style to it, which is pretty cool.
Well, more like Uncharted, I think, than Dark Souls.
Well, for Fallen Order, it literally whole combat system is Soulsborne. That's literally the gameplay and the combat for it and stuff. But the actual traversal, that's straight out of Uncharted.
Yes.
It's the same thing with 1313. It's literally the movement and the way that Cal Kestis moves is straight up like Nathan Drake.
Yep.
Well, aren't they teasing bringing that out? Are they actually?
No, that was canceled. Are you talking about the next Fallen Order?
1313.
Yeah. Oh, 1313. No,
yes, they've talked. It's
that
done.
was canceled a
they've
decade
talked
ago.
about it. I don't know. It'll ever happen.
Yeah. I thought I heard
It'll
something recently
probably
that they're
stay
teasing
dead,
about it.
sadly.
No,
but-
what they did was that they showed the pre-alpha footage that was actually completed of that game before it got canceled when the buyout happened. And when you look at it, it's an actual section of
Agree.
Coruscant where they were actually had Boba Fett chasing someone and stuff. And you can actually see all the animations of what would happen to enemies when they get shot, how Boba would move, and all this other stuff. It's really cool, interesting stuff that just got completed, and then they just killed it right at the end during the buyout.
Interesting.
The worst thing that happened to Star Wars, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a mess, for sure. It's a mess.
You know what? If they were smart, if Disney was really like clever and wanted money, because I think they're leaving money on the table with a lot of that stuff. I understand why they killed these projects, but if they were smart, they would bring these back under new like teams to like pick up where they left off, and even maybe change stuff up to actually have like whatever vision that they had of it to fit in with the new canon, but to not abandon those things because people know about them. They knew about it for years. Like even the Mole project that was broken by Game Informer years ago when the footage and stuff came out. Like if they really wanted to get more stuff involving the Star Wars IP, they would go back and get other teams in order to finish those projects, because I feel like it'd be awesome. It'd be something really interesting that would be better than just having just one or two Star Wars games released within a given like 5-year period. That's what happened with the exclusivity deal with EA.
I mean, what did they come out with? They came out with just like Battlefront 1 and 2 and Jedi Fallen Order, right?
Jedi
That's
Fallen
it.
Order,
Yeah, and
the mobile game.
they just weren't as fun as the old games. You could play the old games for hours and hours. The replayability on those is awesome.
So EA still has the exclusive license?
They're about to lose
that
it, or
changed.
it's gone now. Yeah.
No, what happened was that EA's exclusivity ran out, so they decided to license out to other studios. So they got EA with Battlefront still. They have Respawn, which is doing the Jedi Fallen Order, sequel, plus the other two Star Wars games, which is the FPS and the strategy game. Then you got Ubisoft making the open world Star Wars game, which is going to be whatever. Then you got Quantic Dream making Star Wars Eclipse right now. And then on top of that, Star Wars, Galaxy of Heroes, which is the mobile game, and Star Wars, the Overwatch one. Oh my God. The one that's going to be on Switch and mobile. It looks like Overwatch.
Oh, Hunters.
Star Wars Hunters, yeah.
Okay, and if I can interject something in here, I haven't put it. Maybe I can put it in there. But comics, movies, and games, movies, and comics are us. Talking about that, doing a Shadows of the Empire. Actually, when we were prepping the show last week for the Kings, 24 sent me something about the talk of doing a live action. Shadows of the Empire is in development. It's from Giant Freaking Robot. The story itself.
Yeah, Echo Base covered that, I think, yesterday.
You did it? Okay.
Yeah, and they say it's a rumor. I don't think it's. I don't believe it. I mean, it'd be interesting, but I don't trust.
No reason to right now, to be honest.
Well,
Mando.
Yeah,
I don't trust the current regime to handle Shadows of the Empire.
I don't want it. I mean, when I saw that, I actually was afraid. It's like I don't want them rooting this.
I would rather have them do CG and just do 1-to-1. To be honest with you, make it like Rebels. Make it a CG thing that we could see on Disney Plus and do it like that. Because I mean, if you really think about it, they have so many live action Star Wars projects, some of which that were announced a while ago that they haven't done much with, that are still in development, and they got other stuff coming out soon. I'd rather just get like a CG thing and give us those legend stories that we've seen that have been removed from the canon. This is why I say like Star Wars and Disney should have done the same thing that DC did with their extended universe or multiverse type of stuff. It just give us those stories, even though they're not part of the DCU. If they're not, give us these stories, but even though they're not part of the canon, just make fun Star Wars, kind of like Visions. Same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is you're battling hubris over there. They think that they have said from day one when it became Disney's space conflicts that they're going to do a better job having story content, be able to have it connected better. We have a story group, so everything is going to be smooth. There won't be any gaps. Well, yeah, look what happened.
Then John Favreau walked in with Dave Filoni. He was like, "Hey guys, I got this."
And then And the thing is Ryan was somewhat correct because they're making references back and forth with the old EU before the Yu Zhang Feng story. But the thing is they're pretty tight. These authors talk to each other. These authors would figure out what's going on with each other's works, and they make sure they try as hard as possible. The big problem is with the old EU was the information they were getting from Lucasfilm. Lucas would give him, okay, here's a rough timeline of the universe. So he's putting like the Clone Wars at this point, and then you had the Jedi Purge, like, several years later. Well, we all know what happened there. That all changed. And of course, they want to attack the EU because, look at that. They can't do that right. Well, the information came from Lucas. He changed his mind. Don't attack him on that. But they tried very hard. And the biggest connector of it all was West End Games. It's amazing. We wouldn't have had Heir of the Empire as good as it was without the West End Games, because they compiled all that information, sent it out to Timothy Zahn. At first, Timothy Zahn was insulted. He said, I don't want all this stuff. I'm going to, blah, blah. Then he started looking through and he goes, these guys have just saved me months of research and work.
That's awesome.
And he incorporated it all. He realized, this is a great thing. And now with the West End Games, inspiring Zahn, inspiring all the others, you did have that connection. They did work together. They did try to do the best to have this in a linear fashion of history of Star Wars.
So Western Games, I don't know anything about it. Are they video game developer? Or are they like more board games?
They're actually RPG, and this is the source book they had for Shadows of the Empire. It's all part of this whole thing. So in here you have if you wanted to play Shadows of the Empire with your characters in Star Wars, here you go. You could do that.
So all the information that they used for all their games, they gave to Timothy Zahn, and Timothy Zahn used that to write or to help be consistent with the Thrawn Trilogy.
Well, the thing is, it wasn't West End Games that sent it to Zahn. It was Lucasfilm that took the West End Games and sent it to him.
Oh.
Lucasfilm was sent back saying, "Here you go. Here's the role playing game, the source book, the Empire source book, all the some of the supplements on here, telling of the space of the various races and all that. Here it goes on, and that came from Lucasfilm, who gathered the stuff up from West End Games."
I'm curious. Did the Heir to the Empire have a similar beginning as like Shadows of the Empire, where it was like Lucasfilm reached out to like Timothy Zahn or various authors to write a proper follow up to Return of the Jedi? Because I know like they were like shifting canon like left and right. Like they reset the canon for Heir to the Empire and all the post Return of the Jedi stuff.
What do you mean by resetting the
because like they undid like all the stuff that came out in the 80s, like the comics, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, all that stuff was considered non-canon after that. So
actually, they did start coming back in. I mean, the comic book series, the Marvel series, it took a while, but that started creeping back in. They were ignored. They were ignored by Lucasfilm and everybody as it went along.
So I'm curious how Heir of the Empire got started. Was it Timothy Zahn that started, or was it something Lucasfilm started and they approached Timothy Zahn to, hey, we want you to write a book?
I think they approached, don't quote me on it. I think it was almost a mutual thing. They wanted to do a series. They were going through what authors they could find. And they say, well, here's this Timothy Zahn. He's got a Hugo Award for his short story. He's a good writer. He knows how to write military type science fiction with his Cobra series, his Black Collar series, and the like. And they reached out to him. They let him come up with some ideas. He came forward with the ideas, saying, here they are. They yayed or nayed what he came forward, like the Neogi, the species in there. That was originally going to be the Sith. And they're supposed to have their faces look like Darth Vader, which was supposed to be an inspiration of Darth Vader's mask. And Lucasfilm just said, no. We have plans for the Sith, and no, don't make it look like Vader's face. They also, the insane clone, Jorah Sabaoth, was going to be a clone of Obi-Wan.
Really?
Wild.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was originally going to be a clone of Obi-Wan, but Lucasfilm said, no. We nix it. So, but other than that, they came to him. He came up with a story. They made his ideas, and he went with it. And at the same time, of course, Dark Empire was coming out. They wanted him to work along with Dark Empire. Dom Veach, or however you pronounce his name, Tim Zahn did not like Dark Empire. He still does. He doesn't. He'll sit back and say across the board, he did not like the Emperor coming back as a clone, which, of course, look all what happened with the rise of Mary Sue. It all happened in that one. And actually, when it comes down to it, Lucas actually preferred the Dark Empire over the Heir of the Empire. He felt it felt more into his universe than the Heir to the Empire.
Ah, interesting. Hence why I'm guessing his. I don't know if this is true, but like with his original outlines for the sequel trilogy, I'm guessing he took a lot from Dark Empire.
Actually, I think what it was more like that. He read the Dark Empire. It's like, boy, whether these guys know it or not, they are kind of in the same ballpark of what I'm looking at.
Oh.
I think it's. I mean, it's just like the Star Wars comic book series, the original Marvel run. They had a 2-part series where they had a world, basically another type of Death Star. They called the Tarkin. Originally, what they wanted to do in Marvel, they said, we want to do a story for these big special stories here, but we want to do a second Death Star. And Lucasfilm said, no, don't. So they instead did this scaled down version called the Tarkin. And that's how they found out inadvertently that, oh, there's a Death Star in the next movie. I think that it just happened to be one of those parallel evolution thoughts and ideas that you had.
I see. Huh.
And what's interesting about with Shadows of the Empire, of course, you had that scene. We never saw it. We have the deleted scenes where Luke is working on his lightsaber in the caves. On the, I believe the Blu-ray has the deleted scenes, or somebody has the deleted scenes.
Oh yeah,
on that one. And basically, Steve Perry took that and had that in the beginning of the book itself because obviously Luke needed to have a lightsaber. So he basically did the making the lightsaber in Obi-Wan's habitat on Tatooine before Return of the Jedi. Basically taking that, lifting it almost verbatim, and doing it for Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, that I remember.
Yeah, I remember that this was. I remember that this was before like the whole Kyber. I don't know when Kyber Crystal became the thing, the heart of the lightsaber. But in Shadows of the Empire, they just called it a focusing jewel.
Mm-hmm.
That he had to work on, and he had to work on for like a month or something to get it to work.
And I think it was Rebels when they started actually. I mean, Kyber. They mean with a different spelling. There was a Kyber crystal in this book here. So the Kyber crystal. In fact, that little glowing thing down there is the Kyber crystal.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now I don't want, and it's not spelled the same way as what they have now. But it's basically the same thing. But there's a little difference. I'm not going to give away anything about that. Read the book. Find it. Read it. You won't just be disappointed reading that book. But yeah, it was always crystals. The lightsaber crystals are crystals. Even on Elam, with Clone Wars, I don't think they ever called it Kyber crystals. It was only until you started getting into the Rebels, and then they decide, oh yeah,
you have to find your own. You have to find your own personal crystal.
Yeah,
with all the young.
You know what I never liked about Kyber crystals now, at least with the Disney stuff? I don't like that they give the indication that the Kyber crystals are sentient. I always thought that it was much better and it was much more personable and it made more sense for both the Jedi and especially the Sith, where it was something that either you went and you found and you made your lightsaber like that, or you synthetically created a Kyber crystal in order to create a red lightsaber. I thought that was so much better of an explanation of like how these weapons were made, as opposed to what we got now, where it's like, oh, you have to.
What like I heard that with the Sith, like the Kyber crystal bleeds or something. That's why it's a red lightsaber. I don't know how.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, basically that was an old fan fiction joke type thing. It was never whatever about this. Someone came out and say, "Well, what if it was because the dark side? They turned to the dark side that the blade turns red." But the big thing was for the Sith, it was supposed to be an artificial because it was supposed to be matching the fact that in many ways the Sith is not natural. Where the Jedi were using natural real crystals, the Sith were using these artificial crystals, which had weaknesses in some areas but strengths in the other. And needless to say, they came out red.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm. So, and then of course you had basically your green. Your green and blue, but then you had very rare occasions of other crystals that they had on there. Obviously, Mace Windu was the first one to really show us that with the Attack of the Clones.
I'm gonna have to have you send me a bunch of novel information, Baron. Been reading too much over the years, man.
Well, I've been reading these. Actually, I read the EU
it's
very
awesome,
religiously. Yeah, I read it very
can tell.
religiously up to the Yuzam Vong. I mean, I got about halfway through Troy Denny's, just like here, star by star, and I hated the Yuzam Vong storyline. I hated it. As far as I'm concerned, that when you got up to the Yuzam Vong, that's when the EU ended. I've lightened up a little bit because it's still heads and shoulders above Disney space conflicts.
Oh, I'm
It
sure
really
it
is.
I
And
mean,
now I'm
don't
going
It
to.
is, man.
don't you think the natural progression would have been, maintain the Republic by, teaming up with the Empire to fight a existential threat, outside the galaxy, which I'm guessing the Yuzhan Vong, filled in that
Right.
role.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and it did force to have the remnant in the New Republic have to fight together, realize that they had a common enemy now. That listen, the enemy of my enemy,
it's my friend.
is my friend type of thing.
Mhm.
Exactly. And you had that with this, this strange triumvirate with the Shadows of the Empire. I mean, really, you take a look at it. She's always trying to play both sides against each other. You have a three-way game of chess going on. You have the Emperor and the Invader. You have Luke and the Rebels, and now you have Shizor. And each one, obviously, Luke and the gang don't know fully what the heck's going on. The Emperor obviously has a better idea of what's going on. And who knows how much he knows what's going on. He's playing Shizor against Vader. He knows it. He's having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And how much does Shizor know that he's being played? He might be arrogant enough to think that he's getting one up against the Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, the book literally opens with, Shizor, Emperor allowing Shizor to be present while he's doing that famous, we have a new enemy, Luke Skywalker, and then he will destroy. He might destroy us.
And then he puts those machinations in place right then and there. Boom! It's like, aha!
Yeah.
I have the key.
Shizor he's basically literally telling Shizor, hey. Luke is Darth Vader's son, and you want revenge, right? Well, here you have it. Here's a chance. Right. So I'm guessing this was all the sake of testing Vader, and Shizor was just a puppet.
Right. I mean, you knew that no matter what, Shizor wasn't gonna last. I mean, whether Vader took him out or well, I'm not going to give anything out here.
Here's the funny thing: we don't see him die. Like we in the book, like Vader's Star Destroyer destroys the Skyhook, and of course in the game, Dash basically goes in Return of the Jedi style and takes out the core of the Skyhook, and we don't see him die, so we don't know if he escapes. Because the rule of stories is if you don't see him die, they probably survive somehow. We always bring them back.
Virago is hyperdrive. Do Viragos have hyperdrive?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to find out. I got the information right here.
I'm shocked, Baron. I'm shocked.
I mean, because if he, boarded a Virago, then maybe if he could jump, maybe he did.
Yeah, I think the Virago does have one because obviously, there we go. Starships 118. Just in case everybody wants to know, it's page 118.
Thank you.
In the book here.
What book is that again? I'm sorry.
This is the Star Wars Shadow of the Empire role-playing game supplement from West End Games, the D6 game system for the Star Wars role-playing game. But basically, the thing that basically helped explode everything. So here we got the nice little picture of the Virago in there. There we go. So hey, Virago, how's he doing? Oh. It's a weird-looking ship, but nothing wrong with weird.
I think that was designed by Doug Chang, wasn't it? Yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
He designed and he designed the Outrider, so he got because the guy that designed or the guy that was in charge of the game needed some help designing the Outrider, so they got Doug Chang to help.
Yep, and it's got a hyperdrive of X1, so it's got a Class 1 hyperdrive with a Class 10 backup. And here's another interesting picture. I don't know, does that show up there? There's another one of the Virago.
What makes a Class 1 hyperdrive a Class 1 hyperdrive as opposed to a Class 2 or a Class 3?
And then, of course, there's a Skyhook, just to show you what a Skyhook looks like. Basically, it's kind of backwards because, when Han Solo says she can do 0.5 past light speed, that's they came up with the system in the Star Wars role-playing game that's 0.5 hyperspace. And then, of course, 1 And then anytime after that, it's like now times 2, it takes twice as much as what a regular speed was. Times 3 would be 3 times as long, and so 3 times, as it goes slower. So the higher the number, the slower it goes.
Okay.
So
First
like the class 10 means that it's like 10 times slower than the class 1 type. And then, of course, I believe the Dash Rendar ship was actually class 0.75, so it's supposed to be just about as fast as the Millennium Falcon, but not quite there.
Interesting.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, and I never liked the Outrider, to be honest with you. I never did.
It really is kind of a copy of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
You really think about it. Like, when you really look at their designs and stuff, it seems like it's almost like almost a carbon copy, with a few exceptions, obviously.
Yeah, they made it. Obviously, they made it way more asymmetrical and stuff. And you see the toy, the cockpit can can rotate like it did.
And I think that's what ruined it for me was the toy, because the toy was such a poor representation. I was hoping a lot better than that. It's like, ooh, let's have something like the Millennium Falcon and the Outrider, and you giving me that. Okay, thank you.
And we see, and I'm sure you guys already said, we said this last time out. We see the Outrider in the extended, not the extended, the special edition of Star Wars, the first one, right out of Mos Eisley, I believe, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, you had the ASP droids, and they made their first appearance in these books, in the comic books, because Vader had one specially designed up to be for lightsaber combat. So that robot you saw in the special editions, that's in front of the medium transport that's walking along and smashes that floating droid, that's the ASP droid. That's straight from Shadows of the Empire. You have, of course, the Dash Rendar Outrider, and they made it known that is Dash Rendar's ship. And I can't remember. There's one other item that they put in in that movie, the redos, that was straight out of Shadow of the Empire, which means Shadow of the Empire is official.
Yeah,
I wish it was more though. To be honest, I wish like it was in more like tangible form, like official. Like at least redo the story, even if they have to change like little things to it, but to make the full like canonized like in between Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, because I don't think
it'd be so cool.
I don't think Disney has touched the in between Empire and Jedi yet. I don't believe, right?
No, yes, they did in the comics. In the comics, they did, which is crappy, but it's not like how they did beforehand with the other timeline, like between 4 and 5.
So I know the Vader comic, I think, takes place between the first movie and the Empire. So.
No. It does in some cases, but then there's other stories that take place between Empire and Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
and you know it's amateur hour.
I think is.
It's amateur hour. You know it. The big thing is what I look at this is if the proper trilogy for me, because it's kind of hard for me to put Star Wars in as part of that Empire is a sequel, because Star Wars has that definitive end at the end there. I mean, the Darth Vader and such, but it had one because they didn't know if they were going to continue on. Empire Strikes Back had that open ending. So you had to wait 3 years for Return of the Jedi to know what's going on. You need those two films to connect it. So the best part of the fact of this is, I'd say the trilogy is Empire Strikes Back, Shadows, and then Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Because Shadows does that connecting in between.
Yeah. And I mean, the original idea was to make Shadows of the Empire, or what would become Shadows of the Empire, in between Star Wars and Empire. And I think it was the LucasArts designer that said, no, we have bounty hunters. We have a lot of open-ended elements that we can, use to, create a story, connect to Return of the Jedi. So
by the way, best boss fight in the game right here.
Here we go. Boba Fett. The real Boba Fett.
Yeah.
All right, if you haven't, this is what Boba Fett. So everybody, this is what Boba Fett should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have your helmet on a lot, dude. Come on.
You know, it's funny. When I first saw Attack of the Clones in the theater, I was actually thinking of this. I was thinking of this fight, this boss fight, when Jango and Obi-Wan are fighting on Kamino. I don't know if you guys thought about that. I thought about this particular fight. I was like, wow, this is very similar.
Yeah, I nitpicked that show to death, Baron, because I was just like, I'm a big Boba Fett fan, and seeing Boba Fett turn into that mostly was just disgusting to me.
Well, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen a minute of it, and it's just And just hearing from the beginning, it's like, oh, you're going to have the Fett father here, with I'm going to have my own Crimson Empire, and kind of give away a little bit with the Shadow of the Empire comics. I mean, even though I think it's ridiculous because of the size of the ship, but Boba Fett is leading the other bounty hunters, Slave One.
Well, yeah.
On a chase because they're trying to get him. He's not armed, and now he's gonna. You see Boba Fett fighting with his wits more than anything else in the bounty hunters, which again, a new level of Boba. It's like, okay, this guy is worthy of being that.
Yeah, and especially like, I don't know if you want to watch it. If you do, we can watch it, but only probably okay. It's just, it doesn't make it. It's not as good as The Mandalorian, and there's not enough action in this show. I'm like, this is a Boba Fett show. Where's Bosk? Like, let's have some team ups with these guys and go on some missions. Like, what are you doing? And you got Favreau and you have Rodriguez and you have Filoni working on this, and people, you hear this all the time, and Filoni we trust and Favreau we trust. And it's like, dude, if they don't do that good of a job, then they should be criticized.
Yeah, I heard the rumor was Dengar was going to show up. That was the rumor.
I heard rumors that too.
And there was a lot of talk that people believed that, but that was never the case. Like the rumor for a while was there was going to be a deep fake Han Solo that showed up, but that was nonsense.
Yeah, that was a rumor too. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, Mark Hamill was helping bring that along.
I've heard that like people like wanted as an actor to play Dengar, Simon Pegg. Play Dengar or something. I don't know what you guys think of that.
He doesn't even look like Dengar on the face.
No, and he doesn't even look like Scotty. They made him Scotty, for crying out loud. I'm not a big Simon Pegg fan, anyways. I know, shock, but I'm not a big fan of his.
I don't think he made a bad Scotty, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, and he doesn't look like him. That's the thing. He's like,
that's true.
Who would think that Judge Dredd would look like Dr. McCoy? Honestly,
I didn't mind him as McCoy, to be honest with you, straight up.
Oh, no! I mean, I'm praising. I actually, I thought that was great cast. But I mean, who would have thought Judge Dredd is Dr. McCoy?
I think he played McCoy before.
Carl Urban.
Yeah, he did play it beforehand. But I mean,
I have not. I'll be honest. I have not. I've heard nothing but good things about that Dredd movie. I've never seen it. I've never seen the original.
I saw it recently. It's actually based on the comics, right?
So
it's
Judge Dredd supposed to be like
comics,
so is he supposed to be like the Punisher, basically a similar type of character?
Not really.
Justice, revenge.
Kinda, but not really.
Darker character.
Well, actually, Judge Dredd. That's a complex thing because you're dealing with a lore here that's just as old as Star Wars. Judge Dredd came out just a little before Star Wars in a comic called 2000 AD, an anthology comic, and they did two movies. They did one with Sly Stallone, where they did the crime of taking the helmet off, and actually that one. And that movie, for all its ills in there, was actually based off of one of the comic book lines called "The Day That Justice Died," when Judge Cal took over and as a dictator in Mega City 1. They just changed little things and brought elements, and they didn't do quite a good job. But then, of course, Dredd was with, of course, Carl Urban, and it's more of a darker take. One of the things is I always thought that Judge Dredd is satire as much as anything else. They're satirizing things. Mm-hmm. They're poking. They're using this as kind of a soapbox. And as great as Dredd is violently beautiful film, and I mean that, violently beautiful. It's like I saw it. It's like, why didn't I see this in 3D in the theaters? Oh, that's right. I didn't even know it was in the theaters because they didn't promote it.
Good point.
You have to watch that movie. It is an awesome film.
The
best though, but the best Judge Dredd film there is out there is called Judgmenty. It's a fan film. Find it on YouTube. It's called Judgmenty. Again, it's based off of one of the comics in Judge Dredd, and I think that one is the one that absolutely holds.
How do you spell it? Judgmenty? Mentius?
Yeah, Minty, like a mint. Minty. Minty. Judgmenty.
Minty fresh.
I see.
Yeah.
And these are the people they should hire, Baron, at these studios, man. Especially these fan films. I saw one of Cowboy Bebop. I don't know if you watch any anime or anything, but I was just blown away how people just care so much about this property. And these are the people they should hire. the Cowboy Bebop live action is such a disgrace to the anime. It really
oh my
is.
gosh,
Yeah,
don't
it's
even
horrible.
get me started
Not
on that.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
It's such
I mean,
a disgrace.
Cowboy Bebop is such a
Ugh.
joy. It's like such a it's just
Yes.
such a well crafted anime,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's one of those shows you watch it never gets old. It's all it's still
Mhm.
the
Yep.
humor
The vibe. The
Yes.
vibe.
It never-
you get when you
it
watch
never-
is so good.
yeah,
It-
and
yeah.
Definitely.
every time I approach the ending, because I mean if you've seen the show, you know how it ends. I always get upset because the story was just that well told, in my opinion. And then I watched them desecrate. Now I didn't watch the whole show. I watched the first episode and I watched the final episode because I wanted to see how they handled my favorite
It's
episode,
bad.
which is episode 5 in the church, where he does the shootout and he
Oh,
first
yeah.
meet Vicious and
It's
Vicious
very hollow.
and Vicious throws them out of the window, and you play that that dun 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 dun, dun that. I watched their version of it. I'm like, this is terrible, and then
Well,
they just
yeah.
they changed it
Yeah.
for no reason.
In the first episode, and I have a friend who's like, "Oh, I really like that." It's these toxic anime fanboys. I'm like, that's unfair because
No.
that show was just a mess. If people like it, fine, but even in the first episode, they changed where Faye Valentine is, and she just, and I couldn't believe it how many times she curses. She keeps cursing all the time. That's not her character.
No.
That's at all. It's so ridiculous. These ideas they come up with, oh, we're gonna have her curse and then she's bi, whatever. But this is not her character.
No.
This is don't change these
It's
things.
what they thought the characters were,
Right.
rather than what
It's
they
just-
actually
Well,
are.
it's not even what they.
Get
No,
the
it's not even
people
what-
who are working on this anime if you're gonna do a live action version of it. It just
It's-
makes more sense.
It's not even what they think the character is. It's what they want to pervert it into.
Mhm.
It's like, we don't care what the character is. We're just going to shape and mold into what we want.
Exactly.
And anytime they go out there and they say you're an estaphobe, a troll, whatever,
Right,
it means
right.
you won the argument. They have no argument.
That's
None.
right.
No,
I agree.
None
I
at
agree,
all.
Aaron. Yep.
And so when I'm called an est, I'm called a phobe, I'm called a troll, whatever, I just smile saying, hi, thank you, I won. I
That's
just
right.
No
don't like
argument, no taste.
yeah.
if and I hope, and the thing is I hope they have an argument. Give me a good argument. Give
Me
me a
too.
good reason why you did this. At least I can understand and respect that. But you don't have an argument. It's like all you're just wanting to do is tear everything apart. When we talk about the fan films, remember when Lucasfilm used to do their yearly award ceremony for fan films in the Star Wars universe? You had things
I heard
like
about
Pink
that.
5. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember if Troops actually made it, or Troops was before when they started doing it. But you had like Pink 5, all the others, and again, that was just a treasure trove. It's like you watch that, anything is heads and shoulders above what Disney's space conflicts is all about. They had one where Vader's hunting down some Jedi on a planet, and one of the Jedi make mention about to Vader about Padme. And the Jedi Knight's Padawan goes, Darth Vader had a girlfriend? I mean, just that line itself just cracked me up in a
Cringe.
serious scene. But the thing is you can see that. It's like, I can see that scene for real.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's something, man, with this stuff. And if we were making something, Baron, if we were doing like bounty hunters, like we would have the characters just like they always were. They're and have them group up with the bounty hunters. I mean, did you watch The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I watched Mandalorian. I watched the first 2 seasons of it.
Did you like it?
The first season.
Okay.
I mean, I thought the second season was okay. I mean, obviously, the big reveal at the end, the last episode, was,
Sure.
But I mean, what was nice about the first season of Mandalorian, it was so canon neutral.
Mm-hmm.
That could fit into either universes. It could fit into the EU, or it could fit into the new Disney. When you got into second season, it shifted to Disney. So I like that neutralness of that first season, and the fact that they're using a secondary character. They weren't really fully using places we already been to. I mean, you saw Tatooine once or twice in that one, But it wasn't like the Book of Fett where it's like, okay, name me a planet in the Star Wars universe. Tatooine. Okay, how about another one? Tatooine. How about another one? Hey, there's Tatooine.
No, there's Tatooine.
How many desert planets have we been to since Disney took over?
Well, you had Jakku. You had
Episode 9, and then in season 1 of Mandalorian, with the Jawas.
Yeah, that one there
Even
with the.
I always
It's
thought
like-
the Jawas were pretty exclusive to Tatooine. I guess I was wrong.
I thought so too.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny. Actually, it's kind of funny. There was people pointing around in the EU about Jawas traveling off system. In fact, somebody actually designed a Jawa starship that they would have built off of a sandcrawler, to be honest. And I also remember some of the early Marvel comics. You saw Jawas kind of showing up in other worlds. Of course, okay, well, it could be possible. Just not as a high. It's like every time you turn around, there's a Jawa saying, "Hi, how's it going?"
Right.
Hi, how's it going? Can I have sex with that person in the docking bay over there? Yeah, I know enough about Book of Fett or whatever. Feet. Book of Feet. Al Bundy's Book of Feet.
Yeah, I've just listened to other people's reviews. I saw, and once I heard about like Luke, I had to look online, and there was videos of Luke and Baby Yoda and Ahsoka. So I watched the whole scene. And I was like, oh, Luke meets Ahsoka. I have to hear this conversation. Oh no, they already knew each other. They met off screen because that's what fans want. They think fans don't want to see meetings and stuff for the first time.
I will put money down. They're going to do with Ahsoka what they did with Book of Fett. Look at all the flashbacks they did with Book of Fett. They'll probably do the same thing with Ahsoka, where they do have the meetup between those.
I'm worried that every live action series from now on is going to have Grogu in it. I don't hate Grogu, but it's just like, why?
Well, yeah, I've washed my hands of Disney space conflicts. It's become, you have this giant universe that got expanded with the expanded universe. Now that Disney has it, it's like this little itty bitty ball.
Agreed.
And there's no new characters. It's just everybody bumping into each other, no matter where you are in the universe.
Right.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you, Baron. Jake James Lugo has to go. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I didn't want to dip out without saying goodbye or whatnot, but I appreciate you guys having me on. Talk Shadows, talk Star Wars as always. It's always fun to do that with everybody, especially people I never met before. So I always think that's pretty dope. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely. I figured this would be the best thing to do after doing Empire. So I figured, Shadows was a big part of my life. So yeah, same here. So
this was my first N64 game that I ever played.
Same.
Yeah, it's my first
quality game. Yeah.
Other than Mario 64, this is my first 3D game I've ever played. So yeah. This has a lot of special place in my heart.
Word up.
And this game made me a bigger Star Wars fan. I got more excited for Star Wars after this. So
it's got everybody hyped up for the prequel. Was it for episode one when it came out?
So don't you have a channel? Don't you have something you got to plug?
My YouTube channel. I'm in a lot of places. I do a lot. A lot of people, especially in the Star Wars scene, don't realize how much content that I do about games in general or content that I put out on the internet. But I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/gamerswithgames channel, or just search Jake James Lugo in the search bar. I post up new reviews and gaming related videos every single week, highly edited, highly produced content. I do stuff about Star Wars games, even other Star Wars related stuff. I just put up my review and unboxing of the Book of Sith that just went up today. You guys can go check out, because I do a lot of book overviews, reviews, and other stuff that's related to gaming or Star Wars and such. I do a lot of editorial stuff that I put up on Twitter, twitter.com/Jake James Lugo. Same thing on Instagram, TikTok, a lot of different content. So if you're into games, especially if you're into Star Wars games, check out some of my stuff. I know you guys will love it.
I have to admit, that's a really sick TIE Fighter.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that is cool, man.
See, there, I got a lot of stuff. There's the TIE Fighter up there.
Is that a Keyblade, right?
Right over there. There's the lightsaber.
Yeah, people were mentioning the Gundam.
There's all the books.
The Dobby.
Gundam, yeah.
RX-93.
Those are all gaming books. There's Star Wars books in there as well. The lightsaber book.
I Spy a Sega Genesis mini box.
Yeah.
I have one on my shelf too.
You got a PlayStation Classic in there as well.
Yep, I got that too. It was the worst of them, but hey, I still bought it.
Yeah,
Is that Keyblade? Is that Keyblade on to your left?
I could show you. There's
It's a
two
Keyblade.
Keyblades.
Yes,
Oh.
it
And
is.
then there's, I don't know if you can see that there. The
It's a
gunblade.
nice butter knife.
A lot of game stuff is all I'm about. So games are my thing, and again, I know that people love games. So check out
All right,
some of
so
my stuff. Check out the
everybody-
channel. Give me a subscribe on the channel. I'm trying to break my goals this year.
All right. My mods, I think my mods have been putting your link out. So yeah, everybody subscribe to Jake James Lugo and
I will
follow
do
him on
so.
Twitter.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Have a good night. Chill. Enjoy the convo.
All right,
Thanks.
take care.
Nice
See you
meeting
later,
you,
man.
Master Lugo.
So let's. Why is it just me? Let me.
I
I
don't know.
don't know. You're
Why
showing
not?
Because you're
Okay, here we
handsome.
go.
You're a handsome man. That's why.
Yeah, I'll eventually, once I start doing like interviews and stuff, I'll get the webcam out and I'll show
Nice.
my round bald
Yeah.
show my round bald head.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool.
Join the club.
So
As
now
long as you embrace it.
Bald is
Exactly.
built.
Heck yeah, yeah. I like if my hair grows like a quarter or an eighth of an inch, it's too long for me. I have to shave it. I have to scalp myself. So
Scalp yourself.
yeah, more or less. At least that's why I tell that's why I always tell the barber or the beautician, whoever's doing my hair. I'm like, just scalp me,
Oh,
and they laugh. What's up?
I was going to say, didn't we just see this part in Galaxy Quest? Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
there's
Wasn't
a
the
challenge
engineer?
point. There's a challenge point behind that, maybe, or a life.
It's right up there. Yeah, that's right up there. There it is. Yeah, it was interesting. I was watching the Gaul gameplay, the playthrough yesterday, and I didn't realize how many challenge points there were. Like you can go a lot. You can use that jetpack to go to a lot of weird places in the level.
Oh, yeah.
Weird ledges I didn't even know about. So,
Oh, yeah.
like I didn't even know you could go outside the Boba Fett arena.
Oh, yeah. You get ammunition for your seeker gun down there, too.
yeah. I was like, yeah, it's.
Yeah,
Oh, I forget. I think it's in the later level. You get the disruptor. I think you get it in either in Shizor's palace or in the sewer. I believe you get the disruptor.
It's
But
it's
dude,
gonna
the
be
disruptors. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead, man.
I was just saying that the disruptors are so dope. That's
Yeah,
pretty
they
much all I
are.
was saying.
All right.
No disintegrations.
We just
No
need more
disintegration.
quality Star Wars games, and Respawn has brought us Fallen Order, and Fallen Order, a lot of people liked it. Enough
What was that
people didn't.
prequel? What was that prequel looking game that they announced? You had those jacked up bald dudes playing the drums, and you see the Jedi Temple.
Oh,
and
that's
you
Eclipse.
see and you see the Trade
Eclipse?
Federation.
Was that Eclipse?
Eclipse.
Yeah, Eclipse. Yeah.
Did they? Is it like a platform? What kind of game is that supposed to be?
I don't think anybody knows yet.
We don't
So-
know yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I heard
Just
it's like really early. It was an early announcement, like
Mhm.
Metroid Prime 4 level early announcement.
Metroid Prime 4. Someday they'll show gameplay, Nintendo. Someday. They'll
Yeah,
show it.
I mean, they're still high. I mean, I know this is this is supposed to be a Star Wars stream, but yeah, Metroid Prime 4. They're hiring for like another tool engineer and a director position. So, I mean, Retro Studios lost their key staff that worked on the original Prime games because I mean the last Prime game came out 15 years ago now. So I mean all these younger developers have to learn this. They have to learn how to do all this stuff. So that's why it's
Right.
taking more time than usual. So
But you might get some fresh ideas, hopefully.
You're right. Well, hopefully that Lego game is going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping it's going to be the best Lego Star Wars game ever, or Lego game ever.
I've never played a Lego.
They
Star
can
Wars
be
game.
a lot
Are
of
they-
fun.
Are
They
which
can be a
one-
lot of fun.
What is it like? Play the saga, the Star Wars
Yes, I would play
Skywalker
that
saga,
one.
or whatever they call it.
Yes. That'll be the newest one coming out in a few months. But yeah,
okay.
I would recommend playing the trilogy if you want to try it out. It's a lot of fun.
Are they like? Is it platformer kind of like this type of
Yep.
3D platformer?
You build stuff. Yeah, they can be so much fun.
I see.
I'll send
I have
you
a hard
some
time with
stuff on it,
Legos.
dude.
I'm old and curmudgeon. I have a hard time with Legos, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Actually, my big Star Wars fix is just playing the Old Republic, and as I play the Old Republic, I go, why can't we have this in the the Star Wars movie timeline.
The thing is, though, with the Old Republic is they had some missed opportunities, with that game, and that was they could have got that open world PvP correct. They didn't have the right engine. They spent so much money on voice acting that it was just a mess. And it's fun for a while, and then it's like, well, what do I do next?
Yeah,
you have to wait for more story content, but it can still be a fun game. It's just, I wish the open world PvP was going to be awesome. We have epic space battles. We have this. That's what Star Wars is known for. And
well, you got that MMO that was announced. So
I gotta ask, are you guys looking forward to Kenobi? That's supposed to be coming out. That's supposed to be coming out in. That's supposed to be coming out like the anniversary of Star Wars or something.
Yeah, I'm worried about it after this Book of Boo Boo show. So,
I mean, like I said, I've watched. I'm not black pilled. I'm not black pilled. So don't think that I am. But I am Disney space conflicts burned out. I mean, I just washed my hands completely of them. Too many missed chances, and they're trying to connect it. They're trying their hardest now to try to connect it in with the sequel disappointment, and it's like no. So don't give me that they're going to erase the old thing. No, they're not erasing it. And if that's the direction it's going to go with everything, forget about it. If you're going to have Vader and Obi-Wan meet in this story, forget about it.
Right.
Which it sounds like they're going to do.
Yeah, because I mean, doesn't certain Darth say, "When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." So when he left, when he left him, that was Revenge of the Sith, basically.
Right.
Correct.
Unless people try to argue that it isn't somehow.
Well, and most importantly, it kind of ties in a little bit because remember, Anakin was never a master. We grant you the right to sit here, but we don't grant you the right to master.
Yeah.
So that was right there. You can see if you connect Revenge of the Sith to Episode 4, that's a dig.
Yeah,
I'm a master now. Ha ha.
Exactly.
And if you try to do anything other than that, if you have those two meet, that impactful meeting that you had in Star Wars is lost.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I don't know if Kathleen Kennedy was, talking out of her, behind and stuff, but I'm just like, come on.
I don't know. She said there was a video recently that came out I was watching, and she had said like the High Republic made all this money, and I'm like, really? I don't know about that.
Yeah. No.
Well, she didn't. There's one thing she did not lie about. And she said the Episode 9 doesn't explain anything, and she was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was. So you can't say she's a liar all the time.
She's just there, but all these people thinking these people are going to get fired lately. It's like, no, dude. Like, I know you want this to happen, but it's up to Disney.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Pablo might be gone. I think Pablo Hidalgo might be gone.
He said he was still here. Actually, something came out. Yeah, he said he's still working for Lucasfilm or whatever. So.
Because don't leave it against Kathleen Kennedy. Do like a Stalin, where you airbrush somebody out after you execute them.
Yeah.
Because that's let's face it, that's exactly how it's like over there. And I know that. Well, I consider him one of the greatest traitors to fandom. Right there, he used to have some of the best articles. The best articles. One of the best articles in the role playing games. The West End games was his detailed history of the R series droids, the astromechs. And he was the one that really put forward a lot about them. And what does he do? He turns around and stabs us in the back. And it's like, I love reading that article, but it hurts me now because it's Pablo.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They start off and they have these sites, man, or they have all this cool stuff. You got things like G4, for example, and these used to be fun shows, and all this stuff used to be fun, and then they just take it over. It becomes political. It becomes some other problem, and it never ends. And so you're just like, this is not the best entertainment. We had better before.
Right. Well, they're homogenizing everything. They're homogenizing. Yes. They view that everything's the same. Star Trek, Star Wars, it's the same thing.
Right.
And it's like, no, it's not the same thing.
Right.
they're two different animals. They're two different creatures.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, they
every
are.
time you always hear that Star Wars versus Star Trek. Well, what if the Millennium Falcon went up against the Starship Enterprise or whatever? It's like, dude, enough of that. They're two different universes, two different rules of how they do weaponry. Shut up.
Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen the meme of the? I think it's the Enterprise, the original, not the original Enterprise. The Enterprise A is being chased by a Star Destroyer, and it says, "Quick, we need to escape before Disney acquires us."
Yeah, seen that one.
But then again, they've already. I don't know.
Well,
Star
again,
Trek is.
Look what Jar Jar did with the movies,
Mhm.
and then he after he firmly made sure that was the blood was properly out, then he staggers over and does to Star Wars the same thing he did with Star Trek. Now, of course, he was excusing himself with Star Trek. Well, I'm not really a Star Trek fan, and I'm just doing the movie. My big love is Star Wars, which of course he was starting to give it that Star Wars vibe. So there's people are probably having a little bit of hope, saying, well, at least he's somewhat talented. At least he loves Star Wars. We have a hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess. Like, there's things you can like that JJ did. It's just when it comes to Star Wars and Star Trek, like, there are things I did like he did for Star Trek, but it's not something I just want to watch over and over again. I did like Beyond when I watched it, Baron, but to say I like it more than like Wrath of Khan, no way. Wrath
And
of
the
Khan
thing
is
is,
a great movie.
and that was the one he was least involved with, I believe, was Beyond, wasn't it? Yeah, Into Darkness was the last one he directed and all that. So that was
Beyond.
the one
Beyond was Justin Lin.
I liked Beyond. Yeah.
So yeah,
when I saw it.
Abrams, Kurtzman, and Orky were all out of Beyond. Orky was originally supposed to direct Beyond, but I don't know what happened. He got fired or something. And I think he would have been he probably would have made a better movie than what Justin Lin and Simon Pegg ultimately made in Beyond. I mean, come on, the whole rock and roll. The whole playing sabotage destroys all those ships. Come on, I'm like, really? I'd rather hear techno babble than freaking
it's
Beastie
funny.
Boys and Star Trek.
I saw Beyond once, I think, in the theater, and I don't even remember anything of it right now. Really, I just don't.
Oh, it's another wacky Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
Modern, quote unquote modern Star Trek movie.
It's dystopian journeys. Let's call it what it is. It's dystopian journeys. At least that's what it turned into with Disco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, when you think of Star Trek, what do you think? First thing you think is the starship is basically the main star of the show, and then we see the cast, the captain, and everyone else. But the ship is really the star. The ship is what we first see in the every Star Trek opening, and then they changed that with Discovery. Discovery, like the new Trek, they love the Delta. They love to show off the Delta, the Starfleet insignia. I'm like, that was never. That was never a big thing. I mean, it was there, but it was never like a big thing that you have to use that to market off. It was always the ship that was always in the marketing. So I know how we're talking about Star Trek and the Shadows of the Empire stream. So.
I don't know. Well, I was just going to tie it in. He goes, you had the Enterprise for Star Trek and all. You had the Millennium Falcon. That's what the Millennium Falcon is for us. With the of course, the classic trilogy is. That is our home in many ways. We've seen so many hours of it. We were with that when Luke was learning how to become a Jedi for the first time with Obi-Wan, making their escape. Han and Leia trying to make their escape from Hoth, like we talked about last week, and then of course, seeing Han just being. Oh my God! I'm giving my baby up. I'm giving it to Lando. Please don't blow the ship up, and making us all a little nervous because you never know what could happen in this story. Are we going to lose the Falcon or not?
Right. Yeah, and there was a tension in the Lucasfilms that wasn't really. I mean, there was. I'll be honest. There was tension. There was tension in the sequel trilogy, but it was never earned. Especially Force Awakens. I was like, oh no, is Han going to die? Is Han going to die? He dies.
Yeah.
In a horrible way. in my opinion.
Harrison was always like, I hate Han Solo. It was just like, dude.
Well, he felt like the character couldn't really go anywhere past
Yeah.
Empire. So like like in Return of the Jedi, they rescue him, and then he's basically plays the comedic relief. You know, he basically helps Leia. Leia's in charge of the operation on Endor, with going in and destroying the shield generator. So I mean, I could have seen Han dying at that point where he couldn't get away, and he blew up with the shield generator, gave his life and stuff.
Right, which he wanted to do. He wanted to die in Jedi.
Yeah, and of course George was like, "No, he can't. We have to.
Right?
No, we can't do that. Can't do that."
Yeah, I mean, it was originally going to be the Falcon and Han, so the Falcon was supposed to get lost, and Han was going to get lost. And it was kind of like, well, we can't do both of those. And then it was going back and forth. Will it be the Falcon or will it be Han? And it's like, no, we just can't kill Han, and we can't get rid of the Falcon. So, but it still was enough to make us wonder, was something going to happen there? And killing off a character like Han, it's not a bad thing if you do it right. But
exactly.
They didn't do it right. They just didn't do it right. And then, of course, the addition of Dash Rendar, because what are you going to do? I mean, I was really nervous about Shadow of the Empire when it came out. It's like, what are they going to do about this? This is this tight frame between the two films. How are you going to tie this all together? I mean, you had hope, but you're still kind of nervous. And then, of course, they're bringing in Dash Rendar, who's Han Solo-esque, but still not Han Solo.
Right.
Yeah, he's just Han Solo with red hair. Red hair, and I mean, obviously, the whole Shadows of the Empire, Han's out of the picture because he was encased in carbonite, and he's in Boba Fett's custody. So the whole thing is that they're trying to find, once again, we're trying to rescue Han and stuff, and of course, it ultimately fails. Like in this game, he basically retreats back into the base. And I'm assuming Dash has to flee because of the Empire. And in the movie, in the book, in the comic, there's a big space battle above with Rogue Squadron. Apparently, there's a rebel base not too far from Gaul, and so Luke and Wedge and all of them are the Rogue Squadron. They're basically buying. They're basically creating a distraction while the Outlander and the Millennium Falcon try to go in and get Boba Fett, but it's also there's too many ships down there, and I mean they get outnumbered down there, and the Boba Fett just kind of slips away. And in the comic, I didn't even realize it's a comic. Like there was a point where people are after him on Gaul too. Like Bosk tracks him down, and what was the other dude's name? I wrote it down. Zuckuss? Is his name Zuckuss?
Yeah. Well, Zuckuss is the Gand. He's the one that's kind of has the insect eyes and such. Forlom is the looks like 3PO with the insect head.
Yeah.
And then of course you had Dengar, and of course IG-88. Those were the ones besides Boba in that one.
In the bounty hunter meeting on in Empire.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And so yeah.
Oh, sorry. And then I mean, as it goes with that, you even had a great story where you tied things in for Return of the Jedi, like how Leia got the Bosch outfit. Why Chewbacca's hair was a little different. If you take a look in the beginning of Return of the Jedi, Chewie's hair doesn't look quite right. And of course, that's because he got his hair cut in this story to impersonate the Wookiee bounty hunter.
That's right. So what's funny is what was the name of the Leia's outfit again? The bounty hunter outfit, Bosch.
Bosch.
It's funny they completely copied that in Star Trek in Deep Space Nine and created created the Breen race with that. Yeah, they created the Breen race with that very same helmet.
I might hit the table when I saw that. It's like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, I love Deep Space Nine, but come on.
Yeah, enough with that. And and they did Disney Space Conflicts did their version of Leia getting that Bosch outfit and their little Forces female mini animated shorts. Where
it was Maz. Yeah, Maz gives it to her in that. I think.
Whereas
whereas in this, in Shadows of the Empire, Guri gives it to her.
Right, it's all part of this bigger plan.
So yeah, I mean, like, so basically, you know, after, like, you know, during the Gaul battle, you know, one of the rogue, I forget what was the West, one of the Rogue Squadron members, his droid starts attacking Luke, and Luke uses the forces to escape and stuff. So so Leia assumes that I mean, they trace, like, you know, they trace that the droid was reprogrammed by a technician who was paid off by, like, what looked like the Empire's people, Vader's people or something, like some shell corporation. And she right away, I don't know how she figured this out, but she right away figured out that perhaps Black Sun might have been involved in that. And so then she goes out and she meets with Black Sun. She meets Guri, and Guri gives Leia and Chewie the the disguises so that they can, you know, sneak past the Empire on Coruscant, or Imperial Center as it was called. And yeah, we're on Coruscant.
Yeah, and not only that, then they talk about how the pheromones that Shizor is using to try to get Leia.
Yeah, I think because he's usually he's green naturally, but when he uses his pheromones, I think he turns a shade of yellow.
Yeah, and, yellow, and then I think red too. Depends on the mood.
Yeah, so he even Shizor has his needs and stuff, and so there's a little bit of some sexy time.
Oh yeah, he's a naughty feeling.
I mean, yeah, if you're the third most powerful, influential person in the universe after the Emperor and Darth Vader, I think you get anyone you want. I think that would be pretty easy.
And the thing is, a lot of people don't even know it too, because this kind of hidden. This is a secret organization. This is Black Sun. We don't advertise. First rule of Black Sun: don't talk about Black Sun.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, no, they're they're quote unquote totally legitimate. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a legitimate corporation here. Can we help you?
Yeah. In 5 years, Black Sun will be completely legitimate. Oh wait, sorry, that was a quote from The Godfather Part 2. But they used Godfather, or like the Lucasfilm kept saying, bring forth more Godfather like qualities to the Black Sun, story and stuff. So
even the Vigo, using the term Vigo, which is kind of a little bit of a corruption of using a term in the mafioso world.
I forget what does Vigo stand for.
Is that supposed to mean like cousin or a brother? It's a familial type of name. Let's see if this has it. Let's take a look. So Vigo, it's multi-hundred. Let's take a look. Best place to look is the index. But what's great about the Black Sun, though, they have a Hutt who is secondary in this. Durga the Hutt. He is, he answers to Shizor. Imagine that, the Hutt crime families being as powerful as they are, and even they have to cower down to
there's a chapter in the book. Yeah, there's a chapter in the book where like Shizor is basically like he tells Guri, he's like, hey, I need you to request Jabba in time for my lunch today. Bring him to the bring him here. And so like that's how powerful that goes to show you, that goes to establish how powerful Shizor is in the galaxy. The fact that Jabba the fact that the almighty Jabba in Return of the Jedi can be summoned by him just tells you, how influential he really is. Just getting Jabba for lunch and stuff on a whim, like very short notice. I mean, that tells you how you don't F with this guy.
Right. It brings a new level to the underground world of Star Wars, where Hutt this, Hutt this, Hutt this, Hutt that, Hutt this, Shizor. What?
And he literally, like, Jabba speaks, Huttese, like typical thing. First thing Shizor says to him, it commands him, speak basic. And then you hear so it was interesting. I'm reading the book and I'm hearing, I'm trying to hear in my mind how Jabba would sound with just speaking, English as opposed to Huttese, like he says in the movie. So
I am sorry for speaking Huttese to you. Ha ha ha.
yeah, I was listening to the audiobook, and they make Jabba sound super duper nasty. Like, he owes me money or something like he's talking about Han Solo. He owes me money and stuff. But yeah, in the audio novel or the audiobook, they pronounce it Coruscant. They don't say Coruscant. So that's I was like, predating the prequels. Like I kind of figured when I heard that.
Well, a little FYI on that, of course, Timothy Zahn came out. He came out and it was Coruscant, and he came up with the name. It's like, okay, you can call it that. Lucas originally had Hab Abaddon or something like that as the name for Coruscant, and he was when the movie was coming out when he was working on the Phantom Menace. He was going to change the name. He wasn't going to use Coruscant. And he was basically talked out of by virtually everybody. He said, listen, George, you might not like it, or you might want to have a different name, but this has become such a integral part of the Star Wars lore right now, not even you, as God of this universe, can change it. So he said, okay, fine, I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to change the name, the pronunciation to Coruscant instead of Coruscant. And that's the story behind that.
Oh, interesting.
So, but you can kind of sit back and think that both pronunciations would be good, because just like we have different dialects and accents, even through the United States, sometimes within the same state, it's like someone's going to call something slightly different to the other. So I say both names are valid. Look at the people that say wash and wash. Where the hell do you find an R in wash?
Well, here's one thing. There's only one way to say the capital of Massachusetts. You say Boston. Boston. That's it.
Boston.
Okay.
You don't say Boston. You say Boston. So.
Like chowder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we know. I mean, the story basically ends. They sneak into the sewers. They have an engine. I think Dash meets up with them. There's a lot of Deus Ex Machina in the book. Like they get into so many like fight situations. Luke gets saved by Lando. Luke gets saved by Dash, and Luke gets saved quite a bit in this, even though he's supposed to be Jedi and stuff. He gets saved. There's in the swoop race there was actually a chase where he kind of pulls the Return of the Jedi, where he steals one of the swoops, and there's a chase, and like it looks kind of like makes me think of makes me picture the pod race and Beggar's Canyon and stuff. So so
and when you were talking about like the action figures for this, there were two action figures I was always upset they never made. One was the Liebel droid, Dash Rendar's droid. The other one was that they had Lando Calrissian. He was dressed up as a stormtrooper, and would love to have had an action figure where you had Lando Calrissian with the removable helmet like Luke and Han, and it was Lando Calrissian tied into that. I would have thought that would have been absolutely awesome. And maybe one of these days I'll get someone to do a custom one for me. But
yeah,
I always wish they did that.
So what do you guys think of the ending of the book versus the video game? Like, I know, like obviously in the video game, Dash goes into the palace, he sneaks in through the sewers. Dash fights that big giant Dianoga, which I think it was a Dianoga. Yeah, it was a Dianoga. Yeah. Whereas in the book, it was just simply a typical Dianoga that was I think similar to Star Wars, similar to the original Star Wars in the trash compactor. And then of course they sneak into the palace. I think whereas in this game, Dash separates from Luke and Lando. They go rescue Leia. Dash places charges on some, like, he uses his jetpack to set charges and stuff. And then you fight the gladiator droid, you blow it up, you blow up the palace, and then you go to the Skyhook. In the book, Dash, I think, is with you the whole time. You meet up with Leia. Leia escapes. She bonks Guri on the head, even though Guri is a murderous assassin android that is faster and stronger than even Chewbacca. So, so she manages to bonk her on the head, escape her prison, and and lock her in before she can break out. Kind of like Ilea in Motion Picture. That's how I envisioned. That's how I envisioned that scene with, you know. So, and then of course, you know, the Guri, Shizor, and a bunch of men. They basically surround our heroes, and then they use the thermal detonator Mexican standoff, and Lando literally throws one of the detonators down the garbage chute, and that's basically what destroys. That's what basically destroys the palace in the book. And to be honest, I prefer the game's approach to destroying the palace, where, you know, Dash goes in and sets all those charges and stuff.
Was it Lando or was it Luke that threw the detonator?
I think it was Lando that threw the detonator in the garbage chute.
Okay. And you know what? I got to read the book again.
And then Luke, and then of course Guri is like, you know what? She's like, I've always wanted to fight a Jedi, and so she fights Luke. And Luke, so she gives Luke a few hits, but Luke is able to, you know, be faster than her because, you know, he's a Jedi and stuff. And he manages to beat her in combat without the lightsaber. And then he lets her, he spears her, and he lets her go, and she escapes. So I think her story continues in another comic, I believe.
Oh yeah, it goes in with comics. I think even short stories too. There's a whole thing. In fact, she goes back to meet her creator.
Okay, so yeah, I just downloaded the comics. I have to read them all. So now that I've done that, but yeah, and then of course, you know, both games, you know, they go up to the skyhook. You have to take out Shizor's. What were those? I forget what the ship, his fighters were called.
Viragos.
The Viragos.
Yeah.
And like in both the game and the movie, the Viragos are basically swarming them. Like it's like a no-win situation, kind of. You know, your Kobayashi Maru. Sorry, another Star Trek reference.
They kind of act like TIE bombers. Like in the asteroid field, you have the TIE bombers that slowly shoot proton bombs at you, and the Viragos behave similarly in the beginning of the skyhook level.
Yeah, because they're very slow. Like you can aim at them, you know, whereas you had the regular TIE fighters kind of swooping past you, and you have to really aim. You have to get their trajectory. Yeah, the bombers are just kind of like, they're like, you know, they're it looks like they're still, but I think they're in the same inertia as you are, as the ship you're on is. So it looks like they're still when they're actually, you know, moving and stuff. So yeah, and so it's easy to aim and hit them. And you have to hit the bombs, obviously, because, you know, the bombs are what really kill me in the asteroid field, especially in the easier modes. I think I was watching this video. We're watching on Jedi mode. There's I don't think there's any way to avoid getting killed at least once or twice. So you have to make sure you have enough extra lives or enough lives or something to survive. And the same with the skyhook. So, and what's funny is in the book, it was actually Vader and the Executor that come in and destroy the Shizor's skyhook, because Vader was able to prove, like, you know, Vader kept saying, "I don't trust." He keeps going to the Emperor saying, "I don't trust this Shizor. I don't trust him. There's something going on with him." And Palpatine's like, you know, I'm not going to entertain this unless you have proof. Well, he gets proof. They monitor the communications, and Shizor's like, kill Skywalker. And also, Vader manages to uncover the secret that Shizor's family was killed because of an order Vader gave regarding a virus, regarding like a biological weapon that was set loose, you know. And he basically sterilized the entire area. And that included Shizor's family. So Shizor had a personal, not only wanted to get rid of Vader because of power, but also because it was also personal. To
save everybody's life, he had to kill all of them. So
yeah, and Shizor had to go as far as I like how cunning he is. Like, he went as far as to delete his family records to hide the fact that he might be there might be a motivation behind what he's doing and stuff. So,
well, you guys have certainly made me want to read the book and the comics, so I'm gonna.
If you don't want to read, the audio drama is very good. It's got sound effects too. Some people don't.
You mean the audio? Do you mean the audio book, or is there
another? Audio book. I don't know. I guess it's an audio book. It's about 4 hours long.
Yeah, it's the abridged. I was listening to it. Yeah, I was listening to it this week. So the audio book. It's abridged. So there's I was surprised. I didn't realize that there would be chapters missing.
Yeah, I was so there is a longer version. I mean,
I don't know. I don't.
Well,
think
not
so.
of the audio version, but the real book is longer than the audio book.
Yeah, they skipped. There's chapters where there's a chapter where Shizor uses his martial arts because someone's trying to assassinate him, and he lets his men disarm the guy, so the guy's no longer has a lethal weapon like a gun. So Shizor's like, okay, I'll take him, and he basically does his martial arts, and he's pretty effective. And then there's another chapter where I think Guri executes someone like a business partner or something. I think.
See, the book is 340 pages long. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, I definitely didn't get that experience.
Yeah, and there was another chapter where Vader, Shizor uncovers a rebel shipyards, and Vader the Emperor orders Vader to go in and destroy it personally, and Vader's like, I don't want to do this. And the Emperor's like, well, you have to do it. He's like, well, Shizor's up to something. Well, there's no proof, so do what I say, And he goes, and it's interesting. I read the chapter a long time ago, and there's more of a Vader comes off as more honorable, like an honorable warrior, kind of like a Worf type in this particular chapter, because he literally lets an X-wing go because he feels like, oh, this is all too easy. This is I want to fight someone who's worthy of my time and stuff. So the warrior spirit. He's not interested in the politicking or the deception and all that. That politicians are known for. That Shizor and the Emperor are known for and stuff. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of interesting things, a lot of interesting little gems to discover in this. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it's Vader in there exactly like you're saying before he as evolution of the character went along, they turned him into this OP. Let's just kill people left and right. Oh my, poor me, Padme, whiny brat, and 7 foot tall asthmatic in a suit that makes him smell like yesterday's bagels. I mean. Even leading up, like we were talking about last week with Vader offing the Imperials. I mean, let's face it, when it came right down to it, Ozzel deserved to get offed. I always thought, well, what happened to poor Nita? That just because of that one situation, did he screw up more before, and this was his last chance? Yeah, I never thought that Vader was one of those that just went around and just offed people left and right just because, oh, my coffee's cold, choke. That type of thing, which they seem to turn him into.
Right.
And take a look at Star Wars, the original Star Wars. There, you actually have people debating him on board the blockade runner, and he's taking taking it in. Holding her is dangerous. If word reaches out and it's like, don't worry about it.
Right.
So I mean, and the thing is Vader can appreciate it because these men are loyal. They're concerned about the Empire. They're not being smart Alex. They're not being disrespectful. And you can see that there was a level that Vader did have of honor for being a villain.
Yeah. And Punk Waddle asks, is revenge really a dish best served cold? Yeah.
I like to microwave.
It's a Klingon proverb, apparently.
Actually, it's best served microwave. It's hot on the inside, all around the corners, and it's cold in the center. So that's the way you should have revenge.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to end this stream earlier because I have to literally go into work tomorrow. So, any final thoughts, on Shells of the Empire or Star Wars in general?
Well, I'm gonna definitely look into the book. You guys have certainly made an amazing case for it.
Yeah, I mean, the very first chapter, though. I mean, there's a lot of it. It really depends on if you've seen Empire Strikes Back. So it calls back to the famous Palpatine. It calls back to the famous Palpatine Vader scene. Obviously, that's where Shizor finds out everything. Of course, there's also Leia recalls, the Han getting frozen and stuff. So what's interesting is, and even Luke thinking about Yoda a little bit. So there's a lot, there's a lot that really bridges this with Return of the Jedi. So
that reminds me, when Vader was early in the book, or in the audiobook at least, he was using the dark force to get rid of his lung condition, to breathe easily. And the minute he felt good and he was like, happy, suddenly he, lost the power of the dark side and then reverted back. So anyway, you guys made a case as well, and I think I have an excuse now to rewatch Empire and then read the book, and then I could watch Jedi.
Yeah, I
forgot about that.
Dark side, evil just doesn't pay. Especially when it comes to healing. That's why healing is a Jedi ability in KOTOR, as opposed to a Sith ability. Sith, you have to steal other people's health from them.
Yep.
Because that's the evil thing to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this Shadow of the Empire, Star Wars in general, although of course you have that great story. Shadow of the Empire could have fallen really flat on its face easily, with being such an ambitious project without a movie around it. This is like a movie event without a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie without a movie. That's what they called it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And this could have gone south in a heartbeat and hurt Lucas. But they had the right people involved. They knew the lore. They knew how to expand the lore. They have the love of this. Lucas had his fingers in it, making sure it would stay within the constraints of what Star Wars is about. It wasn't the best story out there that was in the form of books, but you know what? It's one of the better ones. Yeah. It is one of the better ones.
As much as I love the game and I love the book, it still depends on a lot of Deus Ex Machina and your typical tropes and stuff. But you know what? I prefer that. I prefer that over like let's say the stuff that we get now, because it was still entertaining at the same time. So
and it fit, and that's the important thing. Even with this, with the shortcomings, the mistakes that they did do with it, it still fit.
That's true. So anything else you guys want to add before I close?
Yeah, this was quite a fun stream, man. It was cool that you brought on Ryan. That's very cool.
Yeah, it was nice meeting him.
Yep.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if he was going to come, so I just sent him the link and he came in. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I try to get some guests, see if I can get some guests who are bigger channels and stuff, so that I can benefit. But no, I appreciate the time. Talking to bigger YouTubers, to me, it's just like, if they answer you, like that's a to me, that's a plus, that's a bonus and stuff. And I know Ryan is Ryan is a particular, he has particular, political views and stuff, just remember, we're still Star Wars fans and stuff.
Right.
And
exactly.
we're not going to always agree on stuff, but I met him and he's actually a pretty good guy. So I met him twice.
That's what I hear.
So yeah. And so just if you disagree with him, just have a conversation. He'll talk to you. So
yeah, I know. That's for sure. That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, everyone I've met online has been really cool. Like compared to people I've met throughout my adult life, like people online are like I feel like I can really relate to, and and I can respect.
Let me put it this way: everybody that I've been involved with, and I haven't had as big a career as everybody else is, and I like to sit back and say, any guest I have on my show has a bigger show than me. Because that's on the starting element, but it doesn't matter where their political beliefs are, left or right or whatever.
Exactly.
We have been unified around the fact that we love this lore. We hate what's been being done to it. Whether it doesn't matter, it was Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, just the whole thing out there. We're
Yep.
particularly talking about Star Wars here. We wanted to go back to what it is, because this isn't political. This is a lore saga escapism. Quit trying to
Certainly.
push crap down our throat. And even
Right.
stuff like Star
Agreed.
Trek, which is political, it was something that was thoughtful and made
Yes.
you think. It wasn't, again,
Yes.
cramming stuff down your throat. And
No.
that's what we all about. And the people in the chat, as I can say, these are the most important people there are. The people in the chat, because they're the ones that keep us alive. The people who are lurking and not in the chat, they're just as important too. Yeah, they might be shy and not
Yeah.
talk, but the fact that they're there, that's the biggest support. And everyone I have met so far, everyone, have been wonderful people, and I've enjoyed immensely.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I think it's just important to also, if you have a channel or whatever, to tell people to get their voice out there.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid. Talk about what you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Juice Can 84 says, Star Wars transcends politics. At least it used to be. Well, and anything nerdy that was, anything nerdy that people really, cared about did transcend politics. Like you could be on, like even Star Trek. People claim Star Trek is very, very left leaning. In some ways, sure, it's got progressive elements, but this was something that Star Trek was something that appealed to people on both sides of the political aisle because of that human element.
Yep.
And the Star Wars and what George Lucas tried to do with Star Wars, the reason why Star Wars was so big and people adore it to this day, these original movies, is because of the human element that's in there. Something that anybody can relate to.
Yes.
Like you don't have to look like Luke or act or look like Han or Leia or Lando or anybody to be able to relate on a human level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made these successful.
Well, as I like to step back and say, when it came around between the two, the big difference between the two, Star Trek was more micro because it was more involved with the centered around the characters in this worlds. It was more Selma, Alabama. It was all about that aspect. Star Wars is macro. Macro is huge. And this is like this is Dunkirk. This is Battle of the Bulge. It is on a larger aspect where you do have the center character, but there's a bigger thing involved with the whole thing. Two different approaches, two different takes, and quit trying to mesh them together. They're not the same thing. And just because they're different doesn't mean that one's necessarily better than the other. Because of that, we need to have those differences.
I agree.
I want my D-Day. I want my Dunkirk. I want my whatever it is with Star Wars. Let's not turn around and have the Derp Republic, rocks, dinosaurs, no conflicts, and unicorns with lightsabers coming out their butts. And I want my Star Trek to be thoughtful in commentary.
Yeah, I mean something to watch and something to talk about with other fans. Yeah. I mean, you could do that with DS9. You could do that with TNG, Voyager, Babylon 5.
Yep. What do you want? Nerdporeal, what do you want?
I want to reclaim what was rightfully mine. I want my planet to be great again. Okay. I don't think he put what's funny is I don't think he put it exactly that way, but he basically said something kind of like that, where Lando says that about the Centauri.
I want the Great Republic.
There you go. The Great Republic. I just got that on DVD. I have to rewatch. Babylon 5. So that's another show I really love.
On DVD?
Yeah.
So it's going to be widescreen, I guess. The one on HBO Max is it's got some remastered 4:3 aspect. I mean, overall, the DVD is it's pretty good. Just if you start having issues, you might want to check that out. I could hook you up.
Oh, I have. It's on. Oh, that's right. It is on HBO. I have HBO Max. I could watch it there too.
Yeah, they're charging for it on Prime, however. So I don't know if HBO is doing the same thing.
Now the question is, do you think they'll ever release a physical copy, or
I don't know, but I would kill for that.
I don't know.
Yeah, that and obviously Star Trek: The Motion Picture is they're redoing the director's edition in 4K, and of course Paramount being Paramount or Paramount CBS being Paramount, they're trying to make that a Paramount Plus exclusive.
Yeah, we need a paywall with that one.
Mm-hmm. So it makes me regret selling my copy of the DVD. So,
but I would kill for just a Blu-ray Babylon 5 release of whatever they're streaming right now.
Yeah, they'd get me again. I mean, I got the whole series, Crusade, the little movie thing he did for the Sci-Fi Channel, and also the Knights of the Rangers of
A
the.
Call to Arms was the movie. Yeah, A Call to Arms
Yeah.
was the pilot movie, I think, for the Crusade.
Yeah, they have but they had they had the other movies too. They had Third Space. They had In the Beginning. All those, and that's part. I got the whole pack of all those things.
Yeah,
But you'll get me. Yeah, you'll get me to do it again if you release those remastered like that. It's like, okay, I'll keep the other ones because they have the widescreen element on it. But yeah, you got me. You'll have me. Shut up and take my money.
Okay, well, all right. Well, I think this hence concludes Shadows of the Empire stream. So,
Sweet.
what did we learn from this? Well, we learned that we did not our heroes did not catch Boba Fett. That Boba Fett successfully got delivered Han to Jabba. We learned what else did we learn? We learned that we learn how Leia gets her Boshi or whatever it is outfit.
Bosh.
And we what else do we? I forget what else we learned, but we learned a few things. We learned a few things between Empire and Jedi that explains Jedi. Oh, the lightsaber. We learned how Luke, makes his lightsaber and stuff. So that pretty much concludes Shadows of the Empire. So next time we're going to be talking about the conclusion to the Skywalker saga called Rise of Sky. Whoa! Wait! Whoa! Oh,
hold on,
Mr. Nerdporeal. If you don't say this is the end, it'll be the end of your fan. Okay, all right. No, excuse me. Sorry. It's actually Return of the Jedi next week, Thursday. Probably going to be earlier, probably at 7:30 Central or something. We're going to make it a little bit earlier. We're going to talk Return of the Jedi. So I want to have I'm going to have a full panel this time. Invite as many people as I can.
Cool.
If you guys are invited if you want to come back. Baron,
awesome.
Baron, you're like the top speaker of all my streams so far, so you have to come back. So
because I don't know how to shut up. That's why.
That's hey, that helps me a lot. So, but yeah, Return of the Jedi next week, and then after that, I'm not sure because I'm taking a break from Star Wars.
I have been actually setting my Thursdays now, dude, for make sure I'm here for this. So.
I mean,
yes,
awesome.
I appreciate it.
And unfortunately, I would have to come in a little bit later for the show because of my work schedule, but I'd be more than happy to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be another long one because I'm going to do the same thing I did with Empire and Star Wars. I'm going to go through the entire movie.
Oh man. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah. All right. So everybody, take care. Stay Nerdporeal. May the wings of Nerdporeals carry you to the final chapter of the Star Wars saga, at least in my opinion. All right. Take care. Gentlemen. Good night.
Then he has not. I'm doing it my way. To say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows you took the blows, and you did it. Your way. Live long and prosper, George. Well, live long. You've already prospered enough. Thank you, George.